By now, you know the name Cosa-Tv, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. Cosa-Tv has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out hpibet.com. Cosa-Tv, taking Ontario racing global.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to London, Ontario, the first live broadcast of the season here on Cosa-Tv. It is the Ontario Regional Driving Championship, just one race away from getting things kicked off here this evening. Race 2 is coming up. You just see some of the horses out on track mingling just prior to the start of race number 2. And Mother Nature cooperating. There was a lot of rain in the forecast today. It's so far passed us by for the most part. Under overcast skies, track lightning fast at this point in time, and really nice conditions to play under tonight as we welcome you back inside our studio location here at the Raceway in London, Ontario. Greg Blanchard, Mark McKelvey, so happy to be back with you for another season here on Cosa-Tv. A little bit of bonus coverage this year, Mark. This was a show that was not in the original lineup. This event awarded to us here in London just a few weeks ago, and we're excited to have it again here. And one of the deepest lineups we've ever seen for the event here in terms of the Ontario Regional. You've had a chance to go through the entire lineup. You were able to take in some of the draft as well. So give us your quick overall thoughts on who you think maybe came out on top in that draft and who's got the best lineup coming in today.
Yeah, keep in mind, as you mentioned, the draft format allowed the drivers to see the field of horses, and then there was an opportunity for everybody to pick 1 through 8. You had a chance in each race to have that first pick, and of course there was going to be a race as well where you would have the last pick. That being said, you didn't know your post position at the time, and so for some, as in the case of race number 3, which will be our first challenge race coming up, Travis Henry had first pick, and then he drew the 7-hole. Then you look at a guy like Bob McClure, he had the last pick, and his horse drew post position number 2. So you need a little bit of luck, but of course you want that opportunity to select the best horses. And when the morning line was done, if you just went through and you looked at each driver's lineup, Brett McDonald came out on top. He had 4 morning line favorites here tonight, so he's got a big opportunity. Then you look at a driver like Louis Waugh, one of the best in the country, one of the best in the game, doesn't have the strongest of lineups, so maybe you'll say he's a little behind the 8 ball. When I did a tally of 1 through 9, he's got maybe the 6th strongest lineup, which isn't that great. That said, these are the top drivers in the sport, many of them here in Ontario, so an opportunity for them to flex their muscles and try and show what they can get out of these horses here tonight.
Yeah, really full fields today throughout the 9-race competition. A lot of parity along the way. And we really think anything can happen. Of course, a guy like James McDonald, a real headliner coming in based on his resume, especially in the last couple of seasons where he has been Canada's most dominant driver. But he's got a big target on his back today. The other guys, would like to knock him off and be one of the 2 moving on to that national championship this summer in July. We're going to have a couple of special guests join us throughout the broadcast over the next 2 or 3 hours here as we bring you live coverage tonight. But the man who is covering off things in the paddock tonight, other member of our broadcast team, John Ralla, standing by. John, for your thoughts on the night, how's the atmosphere over there so far?
Good. The guys are pretty loose over here. Thanks a lot, first and foremost, for having me join this Cosa broadcast this evening. But for the most part, everybody's pretty loose. Everybody's pretty excited. Any time you have an opportunity to be one of the National Driving Championship representatives for your region, I think it's a really big deal. Obviously, these guys are pretty passionate about representing Canada on a national stage, and it all starts here. And you know what? This Ontario region is pretty important because the last 5 representatives that we had at the WDC have all been Ontario representatives. So this is a pretty big region, guys.
No question. Thank you, John. And we will catch up with John throughout the night. He'll be speaking to some of the connections, both pre and post race and offering his thoughts from a handicapping perspective as well. That's the other part of the equation tonight. It's a lot of fun to watch this as an event in itself, but this is the kind of program that horse players can really sink their teeth into.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a lot of the times you look at the draw, especially on a half-mile track, and you see horses that land on the outside of the gate, and you might think they're an automatic toss, not because they're not going to be driven to win, but they're going to need a lot of help. In a case of a driver's challenge, and think about it, our last Cosa-Tv broadcast of 2023 was the Holiday Drivers Challenge right here at Western Fair. What an exciting day of racing that was. And it's not necessarily your usual run-of-the-mill Tuesday night when you have a driver's challenge. Everybody is going to be gunning. Maybe they're going to make some bold moves that might not pay off, but that's the thing. There's going to be some unpredictability. So there's going to be horses that you might not think will be in play. Might just set up for them. It's going to be a lot of fun. Might be a little tricky to handicap. Like I said, you've got drivers who have got a powerful lamp, some that don't. Early on, and I always ask the guys on these driver's challenges, is there any strategy? All they say is just chip away. Try and get points. So early, these races will be very, very important.
All righty. Let's perhaps bring up the field for our first of our 3-race competition here this afternoon. As Mark mentioned, top 2 finishers today in overall points are going to move on to that national championship later this summer. We've got 9 drivers competing today in the 9 races, so they'll drive in 8 races each. They're all going to get 1 race off somewhere along the line, and they're all going to be leaving from each and every post 1 through 8 throughout the course of the day as well. So you had the random post draw on top of the driver draft where they all got to pick their own horses this past Friday, setting things up here for this afternoon. So right now, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will set up the first of our 9 driving championship events next from the Raceway.
Enjoy the thrill of the race anywhere, anytime with HPIBet.com. Join for free and use your smartphone, tablet, or PC to watch and wager when you can't be at the track. Stream live racing from over 450 tracks. Bet with ease from anywhere. It's safe and secure. Get rewards, race alerts, tips, and more. For a limited time, get $100 when you become a member. Plus, 1 month free live race streaming and your first bet is on us. Go to HPIBet.com to join for free today.
And welcome back. A look at the Winner's Circle location here from the Raceway in London, Ontario. And that's where these guys are going to want to be all afternoon long. We'll have the first of our 9-race championship coming up just a few moments from now. And as you can see there, just a little bit of wetness in the Winner's Circle location, but all in all, Mother Nature was really good to us today.
Yeah, I'd say so. When I was making my trek west down the 401 coming here to London, ran through a little bit of rain and was hoping it wasn't going to follow, but we got through that pretty quickly. And like you said, you never know what you're going to get in April. The forecast not always accurate, so we're a little happy that it wasn't on a day like today, and we should be all right for what will be a real fun night of racing. And that said, you'd like it maybe a little bit warmer, but hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? And we'll take what we get. Hopefully it stays dry throughout the night, enough that we've got a real good track to race on. And again, like we said, you get to those last few races, they're going to be important, but the first one's just as important in this competition. You were mentioning about each driver having 1 race off. I'd love to know their thoughts, and maybe John can ask this question over in the paddock, but do you have a preference? Do you want to have a race off early? Would you rather have 1 off late? My guess is probably early, just so you have an idea of what you need to do as you get into those later races. Bob McClure will be the driver that sits out the last race. Louis Watt's the driver that sits out the first one. If you drew in the middle, you're probably okay with it, but there's a little bit of strategy in all aspects of this here tonight.
Yeah, I hate to speculate because probably what I think, they'll say the opposite. Who knows? We'd love to hear what you think. Everybody tuning in today, we want to welcome folks back on board, several of our regular viewers. Just taking a quick look at the laptop now. We've got Nancy Hubbard joining us from Illinois. Great to have Nancy. Our good friend Mark Anderson as well. Doug Martin asking about track condition because, yes, we were expecting a lot of rain today, but as we mentioned, for the most part, we've been lucky. It's bypassed us, and now in looking at the latest forecast, it looks like it might miss us for the most part. So if that happens, this track will be spot on. The guys have been working all week long to have it in tip-top shape here tonight. So expecting some fast miles. We already saw a trotting event earlier going track record fractions. They didn't quite equal that mark, but they were going that kind of speed early on. I think it bodes well the rest of the way.
And I think you made the comment off camera of the fact that race 1, not part of the competition. You couldn't tell, though. There was quite a bit of aggressiveness in that first race, which I think definitely sets the tone. I'm a big believer, and I've said this to many people that talk to me about racing, especially on those big nights when you got an event or a big race. Love those first few races to kind of set the tone, and that's exactly what we had in the opener here tonight in London.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the NHL playoffs. We'll probably use some hockey analogies here, right? We're both big hockey guys, of course, immersed in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But, yeah, I think the level of intensity and competition, not that it's not there on a daily basis, but I think it really kicks up a notch or two on a night like tonight.
Yeah, I was going to ask. You must have called in a favor to make sure this didn't land on a Leafs playoff game.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The way the Leafs started, I was at a point where I'm like, you know what? Let's have some good horse racing instead of watching this misery. But they bounced back last night. They got themselves back in that series. So they're going to keep us. They're going to keep us clinging to that hope for a little bit longer.
Start to finish, you know exactly what you're going to get, and it's going to be a roller coaster ride of emotions.
As mentioned as well along the way today, we're going to get a couple of local drivers who have the night off tonight, but you see them on a regular basis here. Are going to sit in with us for a couple of races each, just to give us, I think, a little bit of the behind the scenes, especially here in London, what it's like to race here on a night in, night out basis. Scott Ray is going to join us for a couple, and Scott the Answer Young a little bit later as well. Tony Elliott from HPI is here as well. He's going to hop on with us a little bit later. So plenty of coverage coming your way. We're going to try and get to that field page of the first here to have a look at to set things up here as soon as we can. Race number 1, Fillies and Mares event, claiming contest for $8,000 tags. One important note right off the bat, Edam's Ellie, Travis Cullen's original drive in the race, was scratched. But the AE Larjon Lightspeed moves in, will start from post 6 with Cullen driving. And it looks to me like it's almost an even trade in terms of the form. I don't think he's gaining a lot. Doesn't look like he's losing a whole lot with that pickup.
No, and that's exactly what I thought when I took a first glance at the page to see that he'd have that one drawing in. You get a look at the horses there, and we'll introduce the field very soon when they do step out onto the track. But I guess at the end of the day, you'd rather have that chance. I know there are rules in place that should your horse be scratched, you'll automatically be awarded some points. But in this case, you can always play with a little bit of house money, maybe have an opportunity to boost that up on a night like tonight when you draw one in. And hey, we're going to have full fields all evening long, and I think that's probably one of the most appealing things to bettors here tonight is the fact that you are going to get 8-horse field start to finish. Of course, the 8 will be in that trailing position, so makes for a beefy card with a lot of good wagering opportunities.
All right, and one little anecdote from the draft day. The drivers jumped on board. First race they were picking was race 3, and Trevor Henry, for some reason, that was one race page he didn't have. So he hadn't studied the race, and he had an early pick in the event, and he didn't really know who to get to, so the other guys just kind of suggested, credit Kawhi, your old friend Pat Bissett's horse, post 5. Trevor said, why not? Throw me down on that one. Wouldn't you know it, that one's even money and favored right now. So, I think he picks up a pretty live drive here. Interesting again, let's remember that Travis Henry had the first pick overall. He picked Handbag of Cheesies without knowing what the post draw was going to hold, and he gets saddled with the outside post 7. But the horse has plenty of talent, so it's now going to be up to Travis Henry to weave a bit of magic.
Yeah, exactly that. And I guess at the end of the day, you knew you were going to have some luck on your side. It's nice to have an opportunity in that race, I guess, if you're Travis, to pick first, but that's how the post gods usually go. So in this case, he gets a horse that I think certainly is capable of winning this race. Those odds right now, 22-1, aren't reflective of where this horse is probably going to go off at. So for me, I think you just have to make the most of it. Here's a night where probably going to be a lot of unusual things happen, and that's it. You just got to make sure that you're in the right spot.
Alrighty, let's take another quick commercial break. Just a few minutes away from kicking off the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. The first of 9 coming up next. welcome back live inside our on-set location here from the Raceway at Western Fair District. Coming to you tonight from London, Ontario, our first live broadcast of the season on Cosa-Tv. Greg Blanchard, Mark McKelvey at the desk this evening. John Rallis is our man in the paddock. We're going to head over to him now. He's got a special guest to talk about tonight's opener.
All right, thanks, guys. Here alongside driver Travis Henry. And Travis, before we touch on a couple of your drives this evening, I just want to ask you, first and foremost, do you feel like being a regular here on the at Western Fair and racing here a lot of horse here? Do you feel like you have an advantage knowing the horse colony so well?
Yeah, I would say me, Tyler, and Garrett probably had a little bit of advantage over them all because, we've seen them race, etc. But, yeah, like I have maybe a little advantage over them. But, I mean, everybody's a great driver, so, it doesn't matter when you get to that point, right?
Now, in race number 10, that's when you are slated to sit out one of those events. And for you, do you feel like it's a better advantage to sit out early, or do you like being able to sit out late? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me, right? You just got to try and get as many points as you can.
Now, in this upcoming race, it was your top pick overall, handbag of cheesies. Drew post 7. Do you kind of know what happened last time out? Do you think post 7 is going to benefit this mare?
I don't think post 7 is going to benefit anybody, but I don't know what happened. It was my first pick. I got to pick out of race 3, and it was just a cheap bunt, and I just went with the horse I kind of knew. Just hope she drew a little better, but she didn't. So we'll see what happens.
Now, race number 5, you've got Excalibur Sealster, a horse that's always is so tough and wants the lead. Is that kind of the direction that you want to go with her, having an inside draw?
Yeah, when I picked that one, I was really hoping to draw on the gate because it can leave, and it's obviously it's in a front end track, so it'd be nice if that worked out. So that was my plan there.
You kind of talk about your game plan here because I don't think there's going to be too many free leads overall. So does that kind of factor into your decision making when you sit behind any of your horses tonight?
Oh, absolutely. I don't for sure. There's never usually any favors out there, but I mean, it just. That's what I mean. The advantage comes in because you kind of know the horses, etc. So hopefully, see what happens, right?
Best of luck tonight, Travis.
Thank you.
All right, back to the desk for Greg and Mark for more commentary.
Thank you, guys. Travis Henry, yes, one of the mainstays, certainly, at this track. A look at his career earnings, and he's been highly accomplished. Another guy that you think is right on the bubble, right on the verge, potentially, of breaking through, and you might see him a little more on the top circuit at Mohawk Park. London, that's one thing about it, Mark, over the years has really been a stepping stone for many guys. Jody Jamieson started his career here. Mark McDonald did a lot of his early driving before breaking through. Of course, Trevor Henry, Bob McClure, Doug McNair, now Tyler Borth, and the list goes on. So, guys like Garrett Rooney, Travis Henry are kind of really emerging now as your top local guys here night in and night out. And he sounds confident to me. I like it.
Well, I've done quite a few interviews with Travis over the years, and I think that may be one of his best. And I guess that just comes with that maturity. He's not a rookie anymore by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's had back-to-back $2 million seasons. So you talk about the fact that this could be a stepping stone, an event like this, another opportunity to shine, could move up to the big track. That said, you can stay at a spot like this and make a really good career being one of the top guys, and he's had a really, really good run, almost just over $16 million, I should say, in career earnings, almost 2,500 wins for his career, and he's not going to say, oh, I've got a big advantage, as you heard right there, but he knows these horses. He knows the track inside out. So I think he's definitely going to be a big factor here tonight. And I'm really interested to see what he does with Handbag of Cheesies here because you can't waste when you had that first pick, right, even if you did draw the 7 holes. So it's going to be an intriguing start to the competition for Travis.
One of 2 T. Henrys in the field this year. Trevor Henry, Travis Henry. They're going to go toe-to-toe here. Of course, we talk about Trevor, a former Kingpin, and Kingpin here for a long time. And he was a little bit later in his career making the jump to Woodbine Mohawk Park. And at the time, probably a lot of people wondered, will he be able to make that adjustment? And he answered that question almost immediately. Interesting when guys try to make that jump, Mark, for some, it doesn't happen right away. Some try it, kind of have to go back to the drawing board, and in later years come back, maybe a little bit different, a little bit more polished. Guys like Tyler Borth, though, he's made an immediate impact, and I think it's safe to say he is there to stay, although we still get to see him on a pretty regular basis here.
I think it's a real great idea by Tyler Borth to continue driving on those off days when Woodbine Mohawk Park isn't racing. It keeps you sharp. He's young in his career, keeps you hungry, and it keeps you, again, keeping those connections with trainers. You never know when they're going to be bringing a horse to the big track, and of course there are trainers that race at both. Going back to Trevor Henry, over 7,500 wins in his career, some of the sport's biggest races, including the North America Cup. But here's another thing to keep in mind. He's been to a World Driving Championship having represented Canada. He knows all about these challenges, and he knows about Western Fair. For me, even if he doesn't have the strongest of lineups, and looking at it, he's actually got a pretty good lineup here tonight, but even if he didn't, I know he's going to be a big factor. He's going to be in the hunt right until the very end. Excited to see what he'll make of his card here this evening.
All right, a look at the horses, drivers, and caretakers all making their way from our paddock location across Florence Street here at the Raceway. And I think an exciting day, too, for some of the connections of these horses. They get to take part in a competition like this, too. They want to see their horse competing in an event like this with some of the top drivers up behind them in here. There's Pat Bissett and the aforementioned Credit Kawhi. Trevor Henry on board. Travis and the Post 7 starter here, Handbag of Cheesies. Again, the 6 was scratched, and that's why you see the 7 coming out next. Number 9, Largent Lightspeed, will move in, and we'll get Travis Cullen to do the driving here. Tyler Borth, nobody really, especially in the last couple of years, knows their way around this track better than Tyler. Absolutely brimming with confidence. And, he'll be hungry, as you said. He wants to stay sharp, and he had that good battle with James McDonald last year, fell just short. And, he's hungry to probably come back and win that overall dash winning title this year.
Yeah, it's just a title, but it's a lot more than just that. You don't really get a trophy. You don't get really any extra accolades other than your name in the headlines for a day or two, but you can't take that away from a driver. And anybody that can win at that rate, I don't care where you're doing it. If you're doing it here at Western Fair, you're doing it at Woodbine Mohawk Park, you've got a ton of talent. And Tyler Borth, his career just continues to skyrocket. I'm really intrigued to see the kind of drives he'll pick up this summer. There were those state cards last year at Woodbine Mohawk Park where he maybe had only a couple of drives, but when he got an opportunity to drive in some of those stakes, I thought he delivered real well and got along with the young horses. So when we get to the baby races, you'll be curious to see what trainers are maybe using him, giving him some opportunities. Big fan, and I remember a few years back when Western Fair hosted the Regional Driving Championship for Ontario. I remember Tyler was just here in the stands, and it's amazing just to see, again, that propulsion of his career over the last few years.
Yeah, and I got the sense at that time that he was happy to be here and watch, but you could tell he was so hungry.
Yep.
He I could tell at that time, he's like, I want to be out there with those guys. And here we are just a couple of years later, and he's here, and he's here as a major factor. Again, we want to welcome those of you tuning in today. We've got a lot of people watching online, both on our Facebook and our YouTube feed. So we want to say hello to folks tuning in. Charlotte Van Genekten, hello to Charlotte. Hopefully, Charlotte, I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You can let me know if not. And all kinds of viewers tuning in from all over North America. It's wonderful to have you on board for another season and a great way to kick it off here. Let us know who you are rooting on today, or who you think might be the dark horse, if you will, in the field. You automatically go to a guy like James McDonald, a former world driving champion, of course, Bob McClure, Trevor Henry, guys with the resumes they have, but younger guys like we've talked about, and sort of newcomers to this format, and to some extent, Travis Henry, Garrett Rooney. I know in hearing from him in a recent interview, just so thankful, I think so grateful to be included in the field. And that's the thing there with a guy like him. You wonder, how long it'll be today before he sort of puts that part behind him and says, okay, now I'm here to win it, not just be in it.
I agree with that, and I hope for Garrett's sake, his chances in this competition, it's right here in race number 1, because he's got the rail with Mini Million, so you have to take advantage of that opportunity when you do get the inside starting spot. Bit of a long shot on the board right now, but here's a horse that won 2 starts back and races regularly here at London. So Garrett, while he might not drive this one knows it well enough. And I think for him, maybe there'll be a couple of races where you got to shake off some nerves. But for his sake, if he can get a good chunk here in this first race and get those points, I think it keeps the confidence up. And again, driving, and these drivers will all tell you, when you're driving with confidence, there's nothing better.
And a lot of the guys used to driving, of course, on the half-milers. Most of them drive regularly now at the big track at Mohawk, but they don't miss a beat here. They come back to tracks like London, and they get right into the swing of things. London, we've talked about it before, but for viewers that maybe aren't familiar with the racing here, it's a half-mile track, but a bit different configuration than others. It's only 7 wide, a little bit landlocked, and you might get a good look at it here on the various shots we have for you today, the various angles. 4 blocks of streets surround the raceway here, so there really isn't a lot of room to expand the track. It's been considered over the years, but just really not much room to do so. But having said that, it's half-mile racing. We go 7 wide and a trailer for the most part, but there's something about the racing style here and the flow of the races that a lot of people like. There's a lot of early action typically and good flow, and one thing I like about the racing here, Mark, for the most part, horses can win from anywhere. They can win from, of course, on the pace, but they can win from the middle, and they can win from the back of the pack as well.
Yeah, how many races tonight do you think we'll see them coming off the final turn 4, 5 wide? They can really fan out here. I know it's a little tough on the camera guy on the top of the roof when you're shooting straight down on them, but there'll be some exciting finishes, hopefully some blanket finishes. And you're right, all of these drivers familiar with the configuration of this track and where you can be. Maybe you can be aggressive. You can snap off the wings of the gate. You hit that turn real fast, though, so you got to take that into consideration. A lot of the times you see that hard ball played to the quarter here. We saw that earlier on in the card. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, again, they're all talented drivers. It's hard to even pick a favorite. It's hard to pick one that you think is going to come out on top. Of course, 2 of them are going to qualify for the National Driving Championship. Keep in mind, one of the best drivers in the game didn't have to be here tonight. That's Doug McNair. He represented Canada last time out at the World Driving Championship by winning the national driving title. And because of that, he's been given an automatic berth into the National Driving Championship once again to have another opportunity to represent Canada. So you talk about a stacked field. Could have been even more if Doug McNair was here. I know he's at home tuning into the coverage and probably thinking, hey, this isn't too bad. Most nights you want to be on the track, but he can sit back, watch all of his rivals go at it here this evening, knowing he's already going to the National Driving Challenge.
Gate underway for the first of 9 Ontario Driving Championship for 2024. Shannon Sugar Doyle will call the action.
Velocity Impetuous. It's the Ontario Regional Driving Championship in London. It starts right now. And they're off. And Largent Lightspeed with that gate speed quickly to the top for Cullen at a big, big number. Largent Lightspeed on the march. Here in the early going up on the outside, looking to secure a spot up close. Handbag of Cheesies. So here we go. We've got double-digit odds already in the front 2 spots of the driving championship. Largent Lightspeed out there by 4 open lengths. Handbag of Cheesies worked hard to sit second. Traveling in third is Rave Review. Marilyn follows up the speed. She's fourth and already considering an outside move. As Rave Review gets underway, that'll be cover for the 1-2 choice. Marilyn, a gapped off a 5th spot for Credit Kauai. That brought Borth out and around with Velocity Impetuous. They pair up now in the half-mile approach. Still loose up front. Largent Lightspeed at 12-1, leading by 2. She got them to the quarter at a quick 27-4. She led them through the half in 58-3. I don't think she's all in just yet. This is Largent Lightspeed by 2 full lengths. Rave Review under urging for Brett McDonald second. James McDonald sending up Marilyn to be third. 4th is Velocity Impetuous for Borth. 5th and moving up Mini Million for Rooney. Then it's back to Credit Kauai. Trevor Henry off the back end. She's a gunslinger. Bob McClure. Handbag of Cheesies. Travis Henry has pulled up and by 3/4. 128-3. James McDonald. King James takes off here with Marilyn at 1-2, offering up the second best chase. That's Velocity Impetuous. Totterborth Mini Million. Grabbing the Shoto possibly for Garrett Rooney through the stretch to the mile. Marilyn here. The horse players played her right. She's an easy winner by 3. James McDonald on top. Todabor second with Velocity Impetuous. 3 across for the Shoto. Brett McDonald, Garrett Rooney, or Bob McClure. 158-4.
King James getting things started on a winning note with Maryland. Chilly steer from James McDonald, sat off that hot early pace. The outside horses wanting to ensure that they got spotted early, but because of that, a 27-4 first quarter really set the table for James. And Maryland did the rest. Now her 4th win in 13 this year. So that's the kind of start that James wants. And boy, that's maybe a scary proposition. Canada's top driver now with the confidence of that first win under his belt, and could get on that roll.
Most of the drivers in the competition, when they were asked who is their biggest challenge that they will face here tonight, most did say James McDonald. Makes sense. 3-time reigning O'Brien Award winner as Canada's Driver of the Year, and he kicks it off in style, getting the victory. And I guess that's what we probably expected when you had the horses leaving from post 6 and 7. They got right into it. They blast out of there. James got his spot. Tough one there for Travis Henry and Handbag of Cheesies. You hope everything's all right. That one did have to pull up just after the half mile, but you're right. It was a chilly steer. That's a good way to describe it. And now back-to-back wins for this 9-year-old mare. And you talk about confidence. Maybe that was a confidence boost for her last time out, and got to team up with the leading driver in the nation and got to the finish line first. So he gets the points here. This was a race where James had the 5th pick. So, again, I think that'll be something to track all night long. Did the drivers cash in when they did have that opportunity to draft high in each race? And James mid-pack when he had to pick this one, but did have a good post position in post 3 and a mare that was coming in off a victory. So everything came together nicely and gets the job done. And the betting public was all over this one, took a ton of support, and your favorite does deliver in 158-4.
This one, a 9-year-old mare. Owned and trained by Dave Bain. There he is, happy in the winner's circle with Maryland, her 2nd consecutive win. She was coming in good form. This is a mare that took a mark of 53-1 last year at Fraser Downs out on the West Coast. She is a daughter of Custard the Dragon, did much of her racing out there over her career, but since relocating here has been a real nice raceway horse and a good fit here in London. Knows the track well, obviously handles it beautifully, and the race set up nicely for her. James McDonald, Johnny on the spot, first win here. Maybe the key result here, though, in the first leg, aside from the top 2 finishers, which were somewhat expected, Garrett Rooney getting a 40-1 shot in for 3rd, Mini Million. Those are the kind of results you talked about off the top that could be critical in the late stages.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And again, here's a driver who had the rail with a horse that he picked 7th in this race. So didn't get the best selection, but got a good post position. And I said it, he just had to make something happen here, and he gets a 3rd place finish. Those are some nice points. And I think if there was one driver that we thought maybe might have a little bit of extra nerves, it'd probably be Garrett Rooney, but he's driving so well. And this is a home track for him. And I think that's a really good start to get him into the action.
And a good look there at the entire Bain clan, a family affair here. Nathan, of course, who we know well, colleague, a young guy, up-and-comer in the industry that we see doing television analysis at various tracks. He's been doing that here at the Raceway and fill-in announcing, also the regular at Leamington and Dresden. And grandfather Tom Bain as well, still very active here. And we see him almost on a daily basis over the course of the race season. So good to see them click right in the opener with Maryland.
And how about it? It's James McDonald and Tyler Borth. If you want to talk about 2 drivers that have won more races than anybody in the last year here in Canada, there you go. They finished 1-2 for an $11 exacta.
All right, so race 1 is in the books. No real surprises to this point in time, but still a long way to go. Let's take another commercial timeout. We'll be back to set the stage for race number 4, the second of our Ontario Regional Driving Championship, in just a moment.
Harness Racing Update features the sport's most talented and provocative lineup of writers. Garnet Barnsdale, Dave Briggs, Murray Brown, Frank Ottolo, Ron Gerfine and Thomas Hedlund, as well as Bill Heller, Bob Hayden, Dean Hoffman, Victoria Howard, Chris Lomon and David Mattia, and also James Platts, Bob Roberts, Sandra Snyder, Brett Sturman, Jay Wolf, and many more. See what everyone is talking about. Subscribe to HRU today for free at harnessracingupdate.com.
As the industry's leading sales agency, Preferred Equine's new online sales portal, Preferred Equine Online, offers the best online service available. Developed by our experienced sales team, the powerful new platform with cutting-edge technology makes buying and selling easy from the comfort of your home or office over any device. Our experienced sales team offers full customer service for buyers and sellers as it relates to the collection, distribution, and transfer of the horses offered. Sellers can enter a horse as easily as 1, 2, 3 with a searchable database while allowing comments, photos, and other documents. Buyers can view live pedigrees, past performances, and race videos. To view the sales schedule, create your account, or learn more, visit www.preferredequineonline.com or call our sales team at 914-773-7777.
Welcome back. It's the Ontario Regional Driving Championship for 2024 at the Raceway. And we are in London, Ontario. And we are one race in, 8 more to go. We want to welcome a special guest to the show. Looking fresh here, Scott Ray. They call him the Razor here in these parts. One of the well-known drivers here locally, and great to have you on board, Scott. And you know, I other than being in a competition like this, it's still got to be a lot of fun for you to come and watch and kind of have this vantage point and cheer on the guys, especially local guys that you're friends with, but that you compete against on a regular basis.
To me, I like to come and watch the horses that I've been driving and see how they compete. And guys like Tyler and Garrett are guys that I've raced with at, you know, the smaller tracks for a long time. And I'm really cheering for them tonight. So I'm hoping they make a good account of themselves, which I know they will. So
I guess there's no surprise then that you're obviously rooting for the locals, the guys that you know real well. And we were talking about the trajectory that Tyler Borth has been on over the last few years, but you've known him for a very long time. Did you always see it in him? Yeah,
it's funny because me and Tyler would usually ride together to Leamington, and Tyler, he talks about harness racing 24/7. You know, I watch baseball and I do this. Ty, he's just all harness racing. So I knew another thing about Tyler is he's not scared to go into like spots where guys wouldn't want to, and he just loves driving horses. And I seen it coming, and I'm hoping he keeps going upward.
How much is confidence playing into things now? Like you must see a big difference in him now, and almost a little bit of the intimidation factor here now because he's driving favorites a lot of the time, and he's very decisive.
Yeah, and like it's just like any other sport, and I'm thinking this sport's almost more confidence based. It's almost sometimes the horses can feel it right through the lines, and right now, like, you know, good results bring good confidence. So Tyler's having good results, and he's just putting the horses in a good spot, and they're responding for him. So I'm really happy for him.
You know these horses inside out. Now, I thought it was interesting, the draft format, so the guys that don't race here regularly, are they going in a little blind? I mean, they're all good drivers. We just saw James McDonald get it done with a horse that he never drives, but there has to be something about having a little familiarity to them.
Yeah, see, I think that has a lot to do with it, Mark, but I think that if you don't know the post position they're going to get, it kind of makes it tough because each horse, if you really, really know them, is a lot better with a certain post position, and some horses are dependent on what horses are to the inside of them. So when you just get to pick the horse and then afterwards your post position comes, I think there'd be a lot of guys that kind of would question their picks afterwards when they seen the draw.
And by that, do you mean like certain horses that maybe if they're racing from the back, they don't try the same way, that type of thing?
Yeah, I like that. And sometimes when you have a horse that leaves and you look to the inside of you and the two horses to the inside of you leave, then all of a sudden you have no angle to get to the front. And if it's a one-way horse, then all of a sudden, you know, your race has changed. So post position means a big thing. So,
well, there's a horse in this race coming up, full race Cam, that you know really well. And if you look back 2 starts ago, you had the rail and got away 6th. And here tonight, draws the rail again. So obviously a horse that just doesn't have gate speed.
Well, no, it's funny because when you have the rail, the gate will really switch speeds. And all of a sudden, you'll almost be backed up, and then it'll go. Well, this horse don't really have a quick turn of foot. So that day that it got away 6, it made a little break. So the week before, I got away in the 2-hole from the 3. Well, it was better because you're kind of going. You're not stopping and starting as much. So to me, I don't know if the rail is much an advantage for full race cam in this race. So, but we'll see. I'm not saying I would bet that one.
And just want to ask you a little bit too about your family involvement. Very similar to Tyler, right? His father, of course, Bill Borth, well-known horseman in this area, well accomplished, and your father, Jack Ray. I'm sure they were probably friends or certainly acquaintances over the years.
It's funny. I have my dad has a picture at home, and it was the top 6 drivers. I think it was in 1987, and my dad is standing right beside Tyler's dad. So I brought that in the one day we were having a couple beers and showed them, and Tyler really got a kick out of that. So yeah, my dad and Billy have been friends forever, and Billy's a good guy too. So when I drive a little bit for Ty the odd time when he's not around, and Ty drives for me, and he kind of knows what I'm already thinking. So I don't really have to tell Ty much, and he doesn't have to really tell me too much because I kind of get the premise beforehand. So.
All right. Well, we're going to get some more thoughts from you, Scott, on the upcoming 4th race in just
about the Blue Jays,
moment.
right, Greg?
We're going to ask him about that. We'll just hang tight on that one. But right now, though, we're going to hear from the man who got things started with a win tonight. James McDonald standing by with John Rallis.
All right, we're here alongside James McDonald, who kicks things off here in this RDC in Ontario. James, you're no stranger to the national stage. You were a winner of the WDC in 2017. First and foremost, though, James, were you a little bit surprised that Maryland was still left on the board with your 5th selection?
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, these things, like we talked about off air, the posts weren't drawn, so your first instinct, I think, is take a lot of speed horses, half-mile track. You want handy horses. Like I think Travis ended up picking first, and he got the 7-hole. So it kind of, sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. But I definitely had my eye on Maryland, and I was very lucky to get her.
You know, speaking of speed, obviously it favors half-mile racing, but for the first 3 races, we haven't seen a horse who's made the front hang on to win. Does that kind of factor into your decision-making coming in the next few events here?
No, I think it's just a case of you get a bunch of new drivers racing on the track with horses they don't particularly know all that well, some of us, and you're going to see that. I think you're going to see some maybe people racing horses hard that maybe can't withstand, and I think you'll find maybe the bias changes as the day goes. Right now, everyone's jostling for position, trying to get off to a good start. And I think if you see horses starting to win off the pace all the time, then you'll start to see a few win on the front because the fractions will be slower, less people will be going. So you just got to be ready for anything out there.
Now, I know it was a random draw, though, but overall, are you pretty happy with where most of your charges have drawn?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you know after. Right now, I think we're all in the same boat. We're just trying to feel the horses out and just do the best we can. And if things work out, hopefully I'll end up in the winner's circle a few times. If not, I'll have a great day with a great bunch of people, a great bunch of drivers, and it's just an honor anytime to be asked to compete in this.
And last thing, Derby Dillon, your first overall pick in race number 10. Draws a second tier, though, but you don't think it's going to be that bad?
Yeah, Ryan Clyde. But yeah, I think with the trailer, he's going to put himself in a good spot to win.
Thank you.
Jay's got the Skyr face.
All right, almost showtime for race number 4, second race in the competition. Travis Henry on the 1 full race cam. Some unfortunate luck for him in the opener. I guess if that's going to happen, it's better to happen right off the bat. He's got plenty of time to try and recoup and get a good result here. Brett McDonald, he finished 4th in the opener. He's got a long shot here, but those, thirds and fourths, you can chip away and get yourself into contention here. I heard from James McDonald there with John Rallis, and good start for James. And, looking back at him, he wasn't an instant hit on the race bike, but he was very much later getting started than his older brothers, for example, Mark and Anthony, who were kind of born and jumped right into the horse business as kids and all the way through. Where James came on much later, but a good athlete. And I wanted to ask you about that, Scott. Kind of a similar scenario for you, right?
Yeah.
You even said earlier you were maybe even more interested in things like baseball and stuff as a kid, right?
Yeah, it's funny. James, I've played a bunch on his slow pitch teams during the horse baseball and stuff. James is a really good player. He's a left-handed hitter, a shortstop, and he's a good athlete, and he's a great guy too, and also he's a great harness driver. So he's the type of guy that he's not too big for no one. He's nice to the little guys, and he's just a real class act.
I think that's one thing that's obviously helped him over the course of his career, and you can talk to it. Being personable, being able to talk to a trainer, not having that moment where you just blow them off. He talks to everybody, like you said. And in this game, it's just as much of what you do on the track, but what you do off the track as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. James is really, really good at that, and he doesn't come off the track and give a guy a bunch of advice or do things like that. He always comes off with a real light answer, and he's just easy to approach, and he's a good guy. And half the battle is what you do off the track too.
Well, we talked about it. We kind of teased it earlier. The baseball. We got to get your thought. We can't get you on here. You're big baseball guys. We can't have you on here and not get your thoughts on the Blue Jays early in the season. Kind of up and down, but they're right in the mix in a tough division. What do you think so far?
Yeah, well, it was funny, Greg, and I hate to say it. I wasn't a believer after the off season we had, and I was a little upset that we didn't go in the Ohtani thing, whatever. But I didn't think we added enough hitting. But the more and more I'm watching the team, we're going for a pitching and defense thing, and the additions that we made are all good clubhouse guys, really good defenders, and I think we're going to have a bit of fun watching the team. So I've been really, really happy, and tonight's a big game for us too.
I got a follow-up question.
Okay.
Last week I went to a game. After the game, might be the one people saw where they blew it in the ninth. The manager was questioned quite a bit.
Yeah.
Are you a John Schneider fan? I got a text actually after that game from James McDonald. Don't think he's a John Schneider fan.
Funny.
What do you think?
Now, it's funny. James McDonald gave me that same text, but to me, I don't mind him. He seems like a kind of a good guy, that he's a good coach kind of throughout the week. I don't know how his game time management is sometimes. And also, like James said, I would have brought in Yimi Garcia, and I didn't like that move. So, but you're right, James ain't a John Schneider.
And what a wild thing yesterday. Poor Aaron Boone, was it, that he got tossed from the game
And
because of
he didn't even say anything.
a comment. Yeah, a spectator made a comment behind him, and the ump thought it was Aaron and tossed him from the game. It's something you'll probably never see again. Really interesting. Yeah, I think we're all optimistic about the Blue Jays, kind of like the Leafs. We always
last night was a good game.
carry
Greg.
that eternal
was a good
optimism.
Game.
Yeah.
And I know Greg's a big Leaf fan, so
Absolutely,
that was good for us.
That's what I said. He had so much pull, he made sure they didn't even have a game on the driving championship.
Well, that's
night.
why it was on Tuesday.
Well, listen, we've got viewers from all over North America, so you know what? We want to hear your opinions, obviously, on the racing today and the drivers. But hey, if you've got a pick maybe in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're happy to hear that as well. Let's give a few quick hellos here before we get to this next race. Denise Bond tuning in from New Brunswick, a regular viewer of Cosa-Tv. Good to have Denise with us today. Carl Brooks tuning in from Union Bridge, Maryland. Joe Ruppel all the way from Mexico. Nice place to be. And watching in online today as well. J.D. Varnell back with us for another season. And, big hello to everybody tuning in. We love hearing from everyone, especially telling us where you're watching today online. Great to be able to offer this coverage for you once again on Cosa-Tv. We've got race 4 coming up, race 2 of the competition. James getting the win in the first leg. We'll get to John Rallis in a minute, but Scott, time to put your handicapping hat on. You know these horses well. Now you've got some different drivers. Who do you think benefits in here?
Well, to me, I think this General Lee horse will be all right. He's kind of a big, strong horse that I don't think the 6 horse will hurt him that much because he'll be in gear coming off the turn. Also, sometimes, like you say, a new driver will really wake a horse up, and I could maybe see that happening here. And I don't think there's much gate speed to the inside. Other than that, maybe the 7 horse. But, sometimes you don't like saying I like 6 and 7 because it's kind of tough post positions, obviously. But to me, I like the 6 horse in this race.
I'm kind of with you there on that 6, General Lee. Louis Wall wasn't in the first race of the competition, but he had a drive earlier in the card. So he's in the rhythm, and I think after watching, maybe you see everybody got really aggressive from post 6 and 7 in the last one. Does everybody maybe change that up because it didn't really pan out for them? Do you pay attention to how the track's playing before, or is it just kind of race by race case?
Well, a lot of the times I think that these guys, what they're doing is they just put the horse in behind the gate and they go by the feel. I don't think these a lot of people make predetermined things of what they're going to do. There's obviously plan A, plan B, and in these races, plan A usually is try to leave and get ahead of some people. But sometimes off the gate, Mark, that isn't going to transpire. So you have to kind of go and look to follow someone. And to me, I'm thinking if the 6 horse gets off the gate, well, he'll be right in play.
I'm going to go long shot shopping. Throwing in number 8, Drew the Dragon, picks up Trevor Henry. David Bain looking to come right back with a training double here. Let's bring in John Rallis now. John, your thoughts on this 4th race? Anyone in particular that you've got your eye on?
I'm kind of with the Scott Ray there. I like the 6 horse generally. I think that at 5-1, I think that's really good value there that he's offering up. I just think that, I know Pain for Prez a 20-time winner. I just haven't loved what I've seen in the last couple efforts. So I think that he's dropping down, facing maybe a softer bunch. But I think if you want to do this, you got to go value shopping. One that intrigues me is Phone and adding Lasix as well.
The starting gate in motion for race number 4, second race of today's championship event. Once again, let's go upstairs to Shannon Sugar Doyle.
24. Enjoy the broadcast talents of Mark McKelvey, John Rallis, Greg Blanchard, plus a few others tonight. We've got 8 pacers, top of the stretch. Leg 2 of the Ontario Regional Driving Championship right here. There, Roth Phone in with early speed up between pacers. 1 rock farthest out, Pain for Prez. He's on the 3 wide side, and no room at the end just yet for Pain for Prez as they bunch up near the front through this opening turn. Phone in, the Chestnut. 10-year-old son of Vintage Master leading in the early going, though the gray. Pain for Prez reaching up now to grab the early control. This is going to be Pain for Prez at 2-5, touching down on the lead. Opening quarter was 28-2. Parked out second for General Lee and Wah. Phone in and fourth. Sitting at Chile third. Then 4th best away. It's going to be pylon position there for 1 rock and James McDonald as they make the swing for the half-mile approach. Pain for Prez on top where he loves to be, second best. Generally continuing to be with them in third. That's Phone in, a gap of 3 to 1 rock and 4th. There goes Travis Henry, the full race cam. He's underway at a 5th. Brett McDonald along the inside with Einhorn. Next to last, we've got Trevor Henry underway with Drew the Dragon, trailing with Sir Luck now and Garrett Rooney. 58 flat for the halftime, and Pain for Prez takes them on here as they roll up and towards 3/4. Pain for Prez and McClure, he's asking, and Pain for Prez, he's responding. Appears to be putting away the first up attacker, General Lee, who's been out all the way. Phone in has been tripping out here at 7-1. 127-3. Pain for Prez, still the one. Phone in could be dangerous there, sitting the Chile pocket deuce. Traveling out there in third and staying on. General Lee into the stretch they come, and it's Pain for Prez and McClure. A real battle for second. Phone in trying to hold for fourth against General Lee and Wah. The favorite wins again in London. Pain for Prez and McClure. Phone in came back for second for Borth. Then Wah was third with General Lee, and coming from way back to be fourth, Rooney aboard Sir Luck now in 159-1.
Bob McClure gets into the win column in race number 4 with Pain for Prez, the race favorite. Despite an 0-for-6 record on the season coming in, was making the second start at the $8,000 claiming level, and McClure handling the gray very aggressively. Not hard to pick out, of course, on the racetrack. Straight to the front and does not look back. Great battle for the place, and Phone in. The veteran digs in, it appears, and just holds second over a very game General Lee. Good pick there from Scott Ray. And another maybe key result for Garrett Rooney. There he is picking up 4th place money again with a long shot and keeping himself firmly into the mix. So a bit of juggling in the standings early on after 2 legs. guys. And Scott, were there any surprises there? I think General Lee, even though he was parked out off camera, you were saying, this horse is a big grinder. He'll probably hang in, and he did.
Yeah, he ended up putting racing pretty good. Now, when we watched the race, the 5 horse was another pick you could have used, and to me 2 to 5 was a little reach for how the price, but he was a nice take, and when he left the gate and made front, the race was in good hands there, I think, for Bobby.
Yeah, and you talked about, though, you like General Lee in this spot, and as the race was going, people couldn't hear us, but you were saying he'll fight. He's going to hang in there, and I think that's a pretty game effort, as we talked about, to hold in there. Was in the place photo, but paying for present, and Sugar Doyle mentioned it during the call of the race. Likes the front end. You go back, you just look, whenever this horse really has success, it's when he does get things up front, and been almost a year between victories for Payne for Prez, so they'll take that one here tonight. And for Bob McClure, a lot of the times I think he gets the reputation of being such a patient driver and being very methodical, but he can put them in play just like everybody else.
Yeah, Bobby, he's a good athlete and a good driver, and when he gets a chance, and he does what he's supposed to do, and he'll get the job done.
And just recently back off of injury as well. You guys are tough. It's amazing how quick guys bounce back. When we heard his injuries from I believe it was a snowmobile accident, right? A broken leg, and we thought he could be out months, and it was literally just a few weeks, and he was back, and they thought he was a real question mark, frankly, for this challenge, but here he is and in the win column.
Yeah, I talked to him before, and he said it's coming along really well. And one thing about this is the longer you're off on injuries, the more drives you're going to lose, and the more you're going to get out of your rhythm and stuff. And Bobby's a tough guy, and he wants to be out there as much as anybody, so he'll fight to get back.
And you knew for Bob, especially when we were getting around the springtime, some of the better horses are coming back. He just drove the Canadian Horse of the Year in Sylvia Hanover. You knew he was going to make sure he was going to be back in time. And that's probably a big motivating factor for him during his rehab, and he's back in the bike and right in the thick of things here in the competition.
And when we talk good horses, maybe after the break, we'll talk a little Camluck Classic, Scott, a race that we're certainly looking forward to.
There was a big race last night, the Yonkers race, to set up for it.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. There's a look at the prices. No big surprises in the second leg of the competition, but we've got a tight leaderboard, and we'll try and get an update on that for you as well. Time for another commercial break. We'll be back with more from the Raceway in a moment.
For over 25 years, Tara Hill Stud has worked with partners to help produce champion stallions. We are proud to have bred great racehorses like Fade Out, Shower Play, Precious Delight, and There's a Demon in Me. Our stallions, past and present, have had tremendous success while making a huge impact on racing across North America. Mr. Levesque, Mach 3, Cadabra, Muscle Mass, and Precious Bunny, to name a few. Our stallions' progeny have won major events, including the Hambletonian. Tara Hill Stud are currently standing 9 of the industry's top stallions. Alarm Detector, Control the Moment, Dance and Lou, Flanagan Memory, Green Manalishi, He's Watching, Muscle Mass, Resolve, and Sports Writer. Our facility is modern, our staff knowledgeable. Consider Tara Hill Stud when choosing a home for your stallion. Tara Hill Stud, where champions stand and champion yearlings are raised. Log on to TaraHills.com.
Right, that'll change this race, guys.
2 races in tonight and 2 winning favorites. What will race number 5 have in the store for us? It'll be coming up in about 10 minutes or so from now as we welcome you back to the Raceway. Weather, as we talked about, was questionable all day long. There was a threat of some heavy rain, and it looks like we're going to get lucky in that regard. And because of that, Scott, I would say the track is spot on.
Yeah,
the guys have done a great job, and I think now just a bit of wetness today probably has it perfect.
Tonight, when I was out there for the first race, I think it's as good as it's been all year. It was tight, and it was you could tell the guys did a really good job for tonight. So I'm thinking you'll see some nice times, and she's fast tonight, Greg.
And an exciting time of year. We're looking forward to stakes races, as we talked about. Some good 3-year-olds and older horses starting to come back, and we look forward to major events as well. What about you guys? You and your own stable that your dad have.
Yeah.
Who's got you excited for the upcoming season?
We have a nice little sports rider colt that we've been training. Today he went 225, and he reminds me a lot of a horse that you remember,
Proline?
that Proline horse, yeah. And I said to my dad today, I said, I think he might even be better. So
Wow.
I'm hoping that's the case. And we also have another trot in Philly that we like. And we don't have as many this year, Greg, as we'd like, but we just hope we got a couple good ones. So
Sure.
that'd be fun. And like you say, Kamloops Classic night's always pretty much my favorite night of the year, even just to come and watch. So it should be good.
Yeah, we'll get to the Kamloops Classic in just a second, but you talk about when you guys are coming along with the babies. Are you on any type of schedule, or just kind of let them tell you where they're at?
Well, it's funny. My dad's not into really making a real hard schedule. Sometimes when you're training horses for other people, that they're right into that and want to have go this day and this. My dad's usually the type of guy who kind of lets the horse tell us what to do, and because usually what we were doing is we usually own the horse, so we don't want to do too much to it where it might not last like we want it to. So that's our style usually. Today we went in, I think, 226, and that was right on kind of what we were hoping. Yeah. And but yeah, a lot of guys are like that, Mark. They say we got it this day, we have to go this, and that's usually when you're training a big stable mostly.
And you guys, I believe, still have a high-profile owner in the barn too, Dale Hunter,
Dale
of course,
Hunter.
the former NHLer and coach of the London Knights, one of the marquee franchises in Canadian junior hockey. They're going to the third round again of the Ontario Finals.
He's a great guy, Greg.
Yeah.
And he'll come to the farm and watch the horses train. And it's funny, like when I'll talk about the horses, I'll usually try to base it as a hockey player, and I'll say things that he would and he can really get and stuff. And he's not the type of guy. He's very patient and just a really polite, nice guy to work with. So
yeah, I've seen him out here a couple of mornings at qualifiers just by himself watching. Yeah, really, you can tell he really enjoys it.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit bittersweet for Mark to talk about him though, because
a
lot of times London's beating up on his Owen Sound attack. Mark, of course, the play-by-play guy for the Owen Sound attack.
Look, it's the way it goes some years, right? Most
But
years are good
are
for
you
London.
still
That's
in,
the thing.
or are you out?
No,
Okay.
first round sweep.
Okay.
So
And when they get somebody to fill in for play-by-play here, though, who do they call? Mark McKelvey.
Well, there you go.
That's a nice feather in his cap. For
I
sure.
will say the Owen Sound folks don't really like that when I come here, but that's what happens sometimes. And you know what? You talk about the Kamloops Classic. I have a big feeling the London Knights, they'll probably still be playing. I think they'll be in the Memorial Cup come time. That's how good I think they are this year.
Yeah, they look good again.
Dale's pretty happy with the team.
It's amazing. Quite a franchise. You have to tip your hat. But one of those franchises, I sort of get why everyone else in the league doesn't like them, because they're just so good every year, and you want to knock off.
Right.
There's got to be a villain, though, right?
Yeah,
And they play the role real well.
They
I will
do.
say that.
They do, for sure.
Success. Everybody's envious. I get it.
2 sweeps so far, though, and the third round coming up. I don't even know. Is it Sault Ste. Marie?
Sue and Saginaw are playing Game 7 tonight.
Wow.
So they will
So
find
we'll
out.
see
And the
who
series
plays.
is going to start on Friday night right here in
Yeah,
London.
a fresh London Knights team waiting for them. I don't know. That could be good, could be bad.
Hopefully they don't get out of rhythm, but I don't think Dale will let that happen.
I don't think so
That's
either.
not his style.
All right, enough about the hockey, guys. Let's get back to racing here as we get a look at the field for the upcoming 5th race coming up here in a moment. There's a look at the, I believe, the finish order. I believe we're going to get the leaderboard update. That's the field for the 4th race there. So we'll bring up the field for race 5 here in a moment when we get a chance. This one will be another $8,000 claiming contest condition claimer this time. There was a late scratch. So a late scratch in here of journalistic. Trevor Henry will now get this race off. We'll have to double check. I think he gets 5 points, I think. We'll double check that because of the scratch. So there's a look at now the corrected field. Again, number 4 journalistic will not go. The AE did not draw in because this was a later scratch here. So another good-looking tilt coming up here in race number 5. Speaking of good tilts, let's talk about last night's Borgata. I believe we all had a chance to watch it. It never fails year after year in that final. You get some real horse racing, some crazy fractions, and another upset win last night.
Yeah, it was, to me, I just seen, I was watching Desperate Man pretty hard, and he got kind of a tough trip, but he ended up finishing 3rd still, and he raced pretty tough, didn't he, Greg?
He did. He was fantastic. I thought line drive Hanover, and it was one of those moments, Mark, we see it a lot at the quarter. Decisions had to be made, and you have to live with them, and the two favorites, as sometimes happened, neither one wanted to give an inch, and it benefited the others.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, and a lot of people will be looking right now at Yannick Gingras with his drive with Hullabaloo and just saying, geez, that worked out perfect, but you needed that throwdown. It happened. 53-1 to the half on a half-mile track at Yonkers. Just incredible, and I think that's why I was so impressed by Desperate Man, that he hung in there, still got a good chunk. You just wonder if that race is going to take a little bit out of those horses. A horse like Line Drive Hanover, for example, he's had some issues in the past. Can he stay sound? Raced pretty hard, but had a lot of success through the Borgata. I'm sure they're hoping they can get in some of the big dances throughout the year. But for Desperate Man, that horse just loves Yonkers, loves the half-mile track, and he gives a game effort every week.
He does. Covered Bridge, our defending champion of the Camlock, he had the rail last night. Something I think had to be amiss with him. He, I think, got away in the top four and then faltered late and finished last. Just not his MO at all, so it leads me to believe something may be amiss. So hopefully, they can get him back on track. There's a little bit of time here, and it's an interesting time as we start to look at potential horses for the Camlock. On that note, if for all of our viewers today, let us know who are you hoping to see potentially in our Camlock Classic on May 31st here at the Raceway. Little horse that I've been keeping an eye on out of Ohio is Duncan. And I thought he raced really well in the series, including last night. He had the outside post, got away last. He ended up finishing fifth, and he was passing horses into that final quarter where it's tough to make up ground.
It is, and then one thing about that race, too, we talk about how tough a season can be on these horses. They go several weeks in this series. This isn't just eliminations, a final, 2 legs in a final. I mean, they're going for about a month or more. So for these horses, they battle. There's a lot of good horses that didn't even make the final, Greg, and I think we'll still be players in that free-for-all ranks going forward. And I know you've always got your eyes on the different jurisdictions and who the best are there. Locally here, we've had one horse just clean up the preferred at Woodbine Mohawk Park. That is Tarazi. Not sure what their game plan are going to be, but be a lot of fun to see a horse like that in this race move to the smaller track.
Absolutely. Poseidon Sealster's been a hard hitter. He's been in this race before. Which Way to the Beach as well. So they've stayed local this year. They in the past, those two horses specifically, have ventured to the Borgata, and maybe the rigors of that series took a lot out of them. By the time our race came around this year, they're taking a different approach. So it's interesting. A lot of fun over the next few weeks, and we'll probably change our opinion from week to week as we get closer. Of course, hoping to have so much more back this year for the Forest City, the female counterpart as well. She's the defending champion in that. I thought that was maybe one of the races of the year in Canada last year on a half-mile track. Her winning the Forest City here last year.
Every time she'll win, it's always exciting because she just does it by about as much as she has to. And like you say, local connections, and it's nice to see Donnie do good.
Yeah, would love to see her back here, and if everything continues to line up, we will. But that was one race last year. I remember sitting on the desk in the infield here. They hit the wire, and I just went, wow, that was a horse race. And you're right, Greg, usually you have that recency bias at the end of the year when you're talking about a race of the year, but people were still talking about that one come the winter time. That's how exciting it was. So hopefully we can get a nice little repeat of that coming up in several weeks on Camlock Classic night.
Well, let's turn our focus here to race number 5. It's the Super High Five on this program as well, the early Super High Five for those playing along from home tonight. Good wagering opportunity. The public thinks it's a foregone conclusion here that James McDonald will get his second win of the night. Scott, I'll ask you. You know Favaro Sealster well. And Lindsay Kerr, trainer that's reestablished her home base here to London just a few years back, and she's perennially one of the top conditioners here locally.
Yeah, Lindsay, she's actually in our shed row, and they work hard and have a good stable and run a good show. And this horse, I don't know if he's a 1-9 horse, but it might set up for him because I think in this race, a lot of them are going to leave, and he might just pick up the pieces and do really well. The second start down when he went in 56, did he ever race good? And last week he raced good, but maybe he wasn't as good. So to me, Devil's Peak and Favaro Sealster are the two ones that I like in here.
And as far as the draft, Tyler had an early pick in this race, and he did pick Devil's Peak over Journalistic, which surprised me. He's been the fairly regular pilot of Journalistic, who was in very good form. So that was kind of telling to me.
Well, it's funny. The last 2 weeks he got beat off the front journalistic, and I know talking to Tyler, he was a little disappointed in those races and thought he would win. So he didn't really like his first pick when he seen that journalistic was to the inside of him. This was a key scratch to me for Devil's Peak. So, that'll help.
Alrighty, well, we should be looking or trying to look for some horses outside of the expected favorites, and if there's those hot early fractions, I think a horse like Malvolio could benefit here. Gets a trailing spot. Louis Philippois, past Camelot Classic winner, two-time winner of the Camelot Classic, in fact, driving this one. He knows this track well, and I think that price is enticing at 13-1. What about you, John Rallis? Any horses talking to you when you look at this tote board?
My top pick in this race, Greg, was Favero Sealster, but at 1-5, I think you can go some value shopping elsewhere. Obviously, this is a track that really benefits speed, and how about Excalibur Sealster sitting on the board right now at 13-1? You kind of know where he's going to be pointing forward. He's just so good on the lead, but I think really the complexion of this race really changed when journalistic became scratch. I think he would have kind of thrown in a wrench into things on that opening turn. But Favero Sealster, not really a horse that you want to use too early on in the mile because he doesn't have as much to offer late. He's kind of a horse that prefers to have a target. When you kind of give him one, he can really do it any which way, whether it be off a helmet or a slow first over. So I think James is a perfect draw to work with here with Favero Sealster. But again, you can go some value shopping underneath. I think Devil's Peak now, obviously, he becomes an even bigger player, because now there's a scratch of journalistic. So you have to figure that Tyler's going to get aggressive up the gate with this guy. We know his versatility, and Malvolio, he might be able to kind of sneak in despite the second tier and get a trip to hit the ticket, and obviously Derby Dillon from the rail. But I think Favero Sealster now got a clay mentor. I think he's going to be awfully tough to beat. I don't know about 1-5, but I think he's my top pick in this race. But I definitely think you can go some value shopping. Like I said, you have Excalibur Sealster here at 9-1, and you know where he's going to be pointed forward. I think that's, you love betting speed. I think that's a really, really nice number to take on Excalibur Sealster. Any other thoughts, guys?
I'll turn it over to you, Mark McKelvey. Your final thoughts here as we get ready to go.
Yeah, I would definitely echo a lot of those sentiments that John mentioned, just about the price that you're getting on the two Favero Sealster. You'd like to find a little something else, and I think Devil's Peak moving in a spot. I want to ask you, though, Scott, quickly. Devil's Peak's been racing at Flamborough. Can we say there's much difference when you go Flamborough to here?
Yeah, you can. I don't really like the way it's been stopping up a little bit at the end, but see, Flamborough, it's more of a speed track, and it's like, I don't know, there is a difference. I don't know how this horse will affect this horse, but...
And that's what I was wondering, just thinking that, because it's one that just gets put in play, goes forward every time, and you're right, just not necessarily finishing off with too much pop and kind of getting picked off, but last time out was one of its worst results we've seen in several weeks, so we'll see what the bounce back is. I think you definitely, if you're looking at a horse maybe to find a price, I don't know, the one, Derby Dillon, he's 14, but Cassidy Schneider just does really well here, and Travis Cullen, he can keep a horse alive.
Yeah, I kind of like Greg's pick a little bit the more I look at it for a price, too. So.
All right, thank you, Scotty. We'll see if that's right. Here we go. Race 5, third race of the competition coming up.
The rail, then Favero Sealster, Excalibur Sealster, then Devil's Peak, Hurricane King Carlo, Yankee up, Malvolio trails out. Reduced field of 7 here for the high five. Picking up speed, and here they come. They're off. Bob McClure trying to time it from that outside gate, though Devil's Peak and Tyler Borth, well, they got away best of all. Devil's Peak here at 3-1, the earliest leader. Hurricane King Carlo immediately pockets up in second. Finding pot-ons in third was Yankee up. Favero Sealster, the midfield fourth. Looking for a room at the inn. Excalibur Sealster can't find it there. He's a parked out fifth. Derby Dillon from his rail spot now finds himself trailing as Malvolio from the trailing spot went on to show fifth. So they're going to pair up. Bending around turn number 2, following a quarter mile, a clocking of 29 flat. Devil's Peak showing the way. It's 4 in and 3 out here at 3/8 completion. Devil's Peak has set the table early. Second best on the outside, the parked out Excalibur Sealster, third and in for 30-1 bomber, Hurricane King Carlo. Traveling fourth and wide, Malvolio, fifth and in for Yankee up. Setting it up third over, Derby Dillon. Trailing the field at 2-5. Favaro Sealster, well, he would have to circle them from last. 59-2. Comfortable second quarter breather for this leader, Devil's Peak and Borth. The lead is 3 parts of a length up and at him. Excalibur Sealster, Derby Dillon. He's out there on the 3 wide side, and Favaro Sealster, the heavy favorite, tracking his cover. Any one of 7 as they reach the final turn. 3 quarters, 128-3. Devil's Peak still doing good things up front. Excalibur Sealster going a big one. Way up on the outside. Favaro Sealster, he's come from last. Shows up in 4th now. Less than an 8th to go. And it's Devil's Peak and Borth. Favaro Sealster barreling down on the outside. Devil's Peak holds on. Favaro Sealster on for the deuce. Malvolio, big trip for 3rd and 1. 59-1. There it is. Devil's Peak. Tyler Borth in his first win of the Ontario Regional Driving Championship.
Tyler Borth clicking in race number 5, third race of our competition tonight. Runner-up in a couple of the early legs, so some key points for him here. And this one was won at the time of the draft, in hindsight.
It certainly was. He had the first pick, and I talked about needing to cash in when you did have that first selection, and definitely the scratch help. Got out of there nicely, got the lead, got control, and man, oh man, for the bettors out there that were really putting a ton of support behind Favaro Sealster, they had to be not liking how things were shaping up. That one near the back, and it looked like that cover, even though it was going 3 wide, looked like maybe Derby Dillon would tag that one up just close enough, but as Scott Ray was saying beside me and said, James pretty much could have picked up a hot dog where he was coming off the turn, as he had to go real wide there, and that's how it played out. Roaring down the lane, but just going to run out a racetrack was Favaro Sealster and has to settle for second. So Devil's Peak gets it done, and Tyler Borth is having a real good start to the competition.
And I was having a look at the number 8, Malvolio, just keeping a bit of an eye on him too. Had he been able to get loose a little bit earlier, I think he could have been a threat for the win there. By the time he got out, Favaro Sealster had the momentum on him. And full marks to Devil's Peak. It looked like he might be in a little bit of trouble turning for home as they were starting to bear down on him. But he digs in and he finds the wire in time for a hard-fought win. Malvolio 3rd, Louis-Philippe Bois. Brett McDonald, some key points in finishing 4th. But perhaps a little bit of separation early on. We're going to try and get you that leaderboard update following this race with Tyler now no worse than 2nd through 3 legs and a win. He's got himself set up well as we are just coming up now to the midway point of the competition.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the guys in the truck have a chance to pull up the stretch drive one more time, but I'm just looking back at it here on my screen, and man, oh man, coming down to the wire, does Devil's Peak ever start kind of running out and gets a little sideways there? Just take a look here as Tyler's just trying to get this one, get every last inch out of it to hold on, and you'll see it coming up right here as on the far outside comes Favaro Sealster. Gets a little sideways there, but the wire was coming up, a gritty effort.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was far enough ahead of the horses behind him that there would be no impeding. But, had there been horses right up on his back, it could have been interesting, and we might have been looking at an inquiry there. It is Excalibur Sealster holding on for the 5th position in here. So it's a 5-2-8-6-3. Top 5 finish order. In this one, there's a look at the pari-mutuel returns. Some nice returns here, including that super high 5, well over $1,500 for your $1 combination there. Devil's Peak, Tyler Borth, first pick in the draft, went to that one, knew exactly what he was doing, and the result is a win for him in the 3rd race of the competition. 4th race coming up next, race number 6. We'll be switching to the trot this time around. We'll take another break. We're going to have another gentleman well known to racing fans across Ontario. Scott Young is going to sit in with us for a couple of races as well here. Hope you're enjoying the coverage so far. Back with more in a moment from London.
By now, you know the name Cosa-Tv, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. Cosa-Tv has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out HPIBet.com. Cosa-Tv, taking Ontario racing global.
Enjoy the thrill of the race anywhere, anytime with HPIBet.com. Join for free and use your smartphone, tablet, or PC to watch and wager when you can't be at the track. Stream live racing from over 450 tracks. Bet with ease from anywhere. It's safe and secure. Get rewards, race alerts, tips, and more. For a limited time, get $100 when you become a member. Plus, 1 month free live race streaming, and your first bet is on us. Go to HPIBet.com to join for free today.
And welcome back to the set here at the Raceway Western Fair District. Tyler Borth, who has been a leading driver here on more than one occasion, now breaking in on the Woodbine Mohawk Park circuit nationally and showing why he's been a kingpin here at this oval. He knows certainly how to get one to the winner's circle, and obviously he knows his horses. He's done his research and handicapping because, as we mentioned, prior to that last race, this was a horse that he had picked in the draft. He had the number 1 pick in that race, and he certainly went in the right direction.
Yeah, he definitely did. And you even look ahead to this upcoming race, he'll drive number 6, Fox Valley, Ontario, a horse that he drove last time out. So he has that familiarity on top of being one of the top drivers and one of the rising stars in the sport. And right now, everything is pointing in the right direction for Tyler Borth. We said that right off the top, and he's definitely living up to the word to this point. Now, keep in mind, though, the top 2 drivers, this isn't just about finishing first overall. The top 2 will advance to the National Driving Championship. So still a lot on the line. We're only 3 races in, a long way to go.
And the guys like Brett McDonald, Garrett Rooney that we've seen chipping away with thirds and fourths, we talked about it before. If they have a good second half of the competition, those results will be critical, and that sometimes can be the difference between maybe finding your way into that top 2 and getting yourself a spot in the National Championship in Quebec. Let's look at the field for the upcoming 6th race, a trotting event this time around, and we have a few really good-looking trotting races carded as part of the competition here today. One thing I've noticed with some of the guys picking in the draft, I think especially early picks, we're tending to go to horses that if they had one thing in common, it was gate speed. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have been a real good reason why Tyler was leaning towards Devil's Peak there. He knew that's a horse that could really snap the gate, get himself spotted early, and that's what he did there. And the horse that comes to mind for me here is Heavy Duty. He's one that is so handy for a trotter. His gate speed often puts him in a great spot. He's a former trotting horse of the year here in London, Heavy Duty. Very consistent, very good form, as you can see. And I know when Garrett Rooney got to pick in this race, he jumped aboard this one over some others that he has driven on a fairly regular basis.
And that's the thing. He knows these horses real well, and he knows, I think in a game like this where you're trying to get points, you want to get good results, this horse never usually lets you down. Just such a good check collector and also knows his way to the winner's circle. A 21-time winner. Handy for sure. The one that, for me, that stands out again, you talk about horses that can get off the wings, that is the 2 Rose Run Why Not, who back-to-back starts has had the rail, 2 back, got away in the 2-hole, ultimately comes on to win. Last time out, gate to wire. So this is a horse that's performing really, really well, and Trevor Henry will be in the bike. Talk about a guy that can get them off the gate.
Absolutely. One thing we've seen from the few races tonight, I think the track is showing its versatility, if you will. Horses can win from on the lead. Mm-hmm. They can win from off the pace. You can leave from the outside here and get position. We're seeing that. So, the track's playing very fair here, and it's really coming down to putting your horses in the best position to suit their racing style. So that's going to be the order of the day here, and a better betting board early on here, more wide open betting board than we've seen. No prohibitive favorite this time around, so I think that bodes well. This could be one of the more entertaining races of the competition. At this point, though, we're 3 races in. There's still a lot of time, but having said that, who are some drivers that you need to see an immediate result from here to get themselves back in it?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the standings in just a moment. I think you're right. There's just so much racetrack and so much room to work with. But, you look at a driver like Trevor Henry, who I just mentioned, and I expected him to be such a factor because, it's kind of that take no prisoners approach usually from him. He gets so much out of these horses, and I think this is probably the spot where he's going to start to break through. But, again, we were talking about it being hard to pick a favorite in this competition, and yet a couple of the guys who you probably would have pegged as the favorites are the ones that are stepping forward. So sometimes maybe it's the old, don't try and overthink it.
That's right. All right, we are going to head back over to the paddock location. Colleague John Rallis standing by with another special guest.
All right, here alongside driver Bob McClure, who got on the board with a win earlier in the card. And Bob, so far, how's your night going?
I can't complain. I've had a couple long shots squeak through, so pretty happy with that.
In this upcoming race, you do have a Rackus, but he does draw the second tier. We know how valuable his having his nose on the gate is. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, the draft system is a good system, but it would have been better to know, post before, because it wouldn't be one you'd take first if you had known he'd draw in the trailer. But you know what? He's a classy horse. He's got 50 wins. We'll figure it out.
You did do it on the front end a couple races ago when you did get the job done, but for you, how much onus do you put on being on the lead in a half-mile track despite there maybe being so much action here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Any half-mile track, you have to be up near the front for the most part. I raced here for a long time. There isn't a better spot to be. Not having a passing lane, the 2 hole's not always a good spot. First up really could be the second best option a lot of the time here. So if you draw the rail, you want to take advantage of it.
And what would it mean for you to qualify to participate in the NDC?
I'd love to. I think I've participated in this 4 times, and I haven't had a lot of luck. So, obviously it would be a great trip and a real honor to represent your country.
Best of luck, Bobby. Thank you.
Thank you.
All good, buddy? All right, thank you to John Rallis. And Bob McClure, as our friend Scott Young quickly gets into position here, grabs himself a quick drink, and great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Papa Scott Young.
Yeah, me and Haley have a 14-month-old at home, Cavan.
Yeah, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's a beautiful little girl and keeping us on our toes, so no, everything's good.
Awesome.
Hi, Haley. Hi, Cav.
And is Haley back to work?
Yeah, Haley's
today?
back to work. She went back 2 weeks ago, I think she started back to work, so she's dating a part-time catch driver, so she had to make sure she got back to work in time. Yeah.
Haley, of course, is with Standardbrook Canada and one of the people heavily involved in putting this event together.
Yeah, no, I think this is her.
We should let people know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
she's. I think this is her. I'd be lying, 6th or 7th regionals, and she's done worlds before, and yeah, she loves it. So it's. She has a lot of fun doing it.
So the question I guess we've got to put to you is, why are you sitting here? Why are you not in this? What's going on now? We're not seeing you drive as much lately.
This is for top drivers, obviously, this event. But no, you're right. I haven't been driving as much, and it's obviously not planned by any means. But, I'm probably 12th, 13th guy at Mohawk, right? And they're short on horses throughout the winter and stuff. So when you only have 7, 8 horse fields, it's obviously tough to get work. And, at this track, too, there's probably more drivers than there are horses at the B tracks. So when you've kind of established being at Mohawk, it's tough to get work here. But spring's coming. Dad's home now today, and I got a couple other trainers that are home. So hopefully work picks up here next week.
And that's what I was going to ask you, right? I mean, you've got plenty of experience with the young horses, so this has to be a fun time of the year.
Yeah, it seems to be like May to October seems to be my driving career, and then I take I'm a little young to be doing that. But it's great. That's my thing. I love driving 2- and 3-year-olds, teaching them how to race, and obviously in stake races. So yeah, hopefully it continues this summer and get some live mounts anyway.
No, actually, just speaking of the young horses, and you mentioned your dad, what's he got? What's he like? Anything? Did you get a chance to get down to Florida at all this winter?
I went to Florida once with Haley and Cavan just for a vacation. I actually didn't do any horse work, but he had 4 in Florida. He's got a 3-year-old Stay Hungry filly, a 3-year-old Father Patrick colt, and he actually bought 2 propulsion colts this year. I said, well, I hope we like them because we bought 2. But no, they've both been good. I think they've been like 20, 25, something like that. So they all seem they're good. Yeah, he was at Spring Garden Ranch all winter. So yeah, he's back home now. So
that's fantastic. Well, we'll get a look at the horses and drivers coming out here for race number 6. The next one we're going to see is one that you're familiar with, Rose Run Why Not. Others in here you've probably driven maybe at one point or another, but this one a little bit more recently. What can you tell us about the horse? I mean, the recent form especially has been fantastic.
Yeah, she's actually been really good lately. Brian Lawrence from Hanover, great guy, always gave me work since I was a young guy. He, her thing is always she sometimes gets a little soft on the end, but she's been really good her last 2, and obviously gets Trevor tonight. My concern is Arrakis, actually, out of the 8-hole. This horse is a very nice horse to drive once he's in the race, but he's extremely aggressive and very temperamental going to the gate.
Right.
The idea is to put him right on the car, and then you don't have to fight with him. Well, he doesn't have that option tonight, so I feel for Bob actually driving Arrakis in here.
He's 12 years old, though. You would think he would have got over these
and
issues.
you believe it, he's actually more well-behaved now than he was in his younger years, but he still can be a tough candidate sometimes.
Well, speaking of tough candidates, James McDonald, Tyler Borth, we're not sure yet. We haven't got the updated standings. We think if they're not sitting 1-2, they're pretty close. They're right up there. I suspect Tyler's probably leading based on what we've seen so far. And again, we're going to try and get you that updated leaderboard shortly. You drive against these guys enough. What makes a guy like James, let's talk about him and the rise he's had in the last 2-3 years and the kind of dominance now. What's been the difference? What makes him so good night to night?
James McDonald is a very good driver. I would say there's the 12 guys downtown. It comes to what you're driving, to be honest with you. They're all very talented, and they all know what they're doing. And, if you look up going behind the gate and you're 3 to 5 or 4 to 5, any one of them will probably win. And when you do well, more power comes. It's just how it works, And James has been phenomenal. He's been dominant for the last 3 or 4 years, and that's why I always torture him all the time. If he wins 5 or 6, I was like, well, you should have probably won 4, you know what I mean? And then the other 2 were just because he's rolling. But when you get to drive that kind of power, it does make your job definitely enjoyable.
And I think for a guy like James, we were talking about it a little bit earlier on, it's actually the work over the last few years he's done with the young horses.
Yeah.
And that just puts more confidence, I think, in trainers to enlist you. And again, you talked about it. He's been having so much success. But I know at Woodbine Mohawk Park, it's almost like there's 2 seasons, right? You have stake season and then outside of that. And the racing definitely changes.
Oh, big time. And obviously, guys get more, I don't want to say competitive, but when there's the extra 0, there's, where he might get you in somewhere, you might not now, But that's why I took a little heat from Bob actually when I mentioned this from James last time, but definitely those 2. They're probably the best to it, like conditioning a young horse. James, you ever look like you see a qualifier, he's 5th and 4th? Well, that horse is probably ready to go about 4 seconds faster than what it did. He's always told me that, like if some trainer wants you to go 58, you're better to go 59, but have him just like this, So and I find he keeps them buried. Like he tries to never get a young horse tired.
Interesting you mentioned that, and you mentioned Bob specifically, because you're right. I remember, I think it was the year Forbidden Trade won the Hambletonian. I remember him qualifying before the Hambo, and it was very lackluster. I think he finished 3rd or 4th, maybe trotted in 58, and it kind of left you wondering.
It was like the Tuesday before the race as well.
Is he ready for this? But we all know what he went on to do. And it was that year or maybe a year later, you were kind of the number 2 guy there in some of the big races for determination with the young trotters that year, and that was parlayed by you into some successful races.
Yeah, I was that was the end of 2019. I went to Mohawk to try and break in, and it worked good. And then that January, I got my 1,000th win, and then that August, I won the Wellwood. So it was it was a whirlwind year, and Bobby obviously helped me out huge. Being number 1, they kind of said they wanted a guy that they could. That Bobby trusted and Luke and somebody they could talk to and, kind of knew what to do. And Bobby asked me and, gave me a shot to put me on the map. You know what I mean? It kept me, I'm still at Mohawk, I guess you can call it that, for 4 years now. You know what I mean? And still getting drives down there. So it, it established me for sure. And, I got to win a $500,000 race, which put me in a $1 million race, which I got to a 3rd in that. So it was, it put me to new places I'd never been before.
And you talk about, though, one thing leading to another, a little success parlaying into more success. And that's what it comes down to. You talk about maybe you don't have a whole lot of work right now, but you catch one, especially around the Sire Stakes time. Everybody takes notice if you're doing well.
Oh, exactly. And I've been pretty fortunate the last couple of years. I go to, I try to anyway. There's obviously stakes at Mohawk on Saturday nights and stuff like that. So the grassroots will have to go to Sarnia or Kawartha or Georgian or wherever. And, I've been fortunate to kind of get Bob and James and Trevor's kind of power when they don't go, right? And then, basically the idea there is just to make sure you don't mess up because they're very talented horses.
For sure. And, you talked about the new arrival, the recent arrival into your family too. So it gives you a little bit more time, right? To devote to that. And, that's a bit of work in itself, right?
Yeah, well, Haley has to raise the daughter and me now, so that's good. But no, she's actually a beautiful baby. Like we've been spoiled. She sleeps through the night, and she's, overall for what she could do, she's been great.
And what traits do you think? What good traits has she picked up from you?
Well, she got my head and my dimple, and everything else is mom. So we lucked out there.
Spot on. There you go. Well, we're looking at this race. They're going to go to the gate here in just a couple of moments. I know you're breaking down a couple of them. One thing I think that's worth noting for sure is number 8, Arrakis. We've talked about that one. Actually raced on Saturday night at Flamborough. 1, got disqualified for going inside pylons. Quick turnaround, but a veteran. Didn't see the race, so I can't say if that kind of goes to some of those issues you've talked about. But the quick turnaround for a horse like that really doesn't hurt, right?
No, and Rackus, he's kind of like that too. I know Frankie, he just swims them actually. He doesn't see any track work throughout the week. So he's actually almost better like that to kind of race like every 4 or 6 days. You know what I mean? Kind of keeps him fit too. So
getting set to go here moments from now. Even Money, Monteverde, James McDonald.
What else is new?
I was going to say, what do you think, guys? Is that maybe a bit of an overbet just because it's James, the rail? What do you think?
I was joking actually at Mohawk this week when I had a slight 2-week vacation for a reason we don't need to bring up, and he drove 2 of my horses that were actually in decent spots, but they were off of me, and they both got bet to like 3 to 5, and they were both second. So I said, oh yeah, took a wash on James, you know what I mean, off Youngie. So I was actually kind of happy to see he couldn't win with them either. So that was good. That was good.
So kind of subtly cheering against it, but not really.
No, he's like I said, he's my buddy. He's a great guy, and like I said, he deserves all the success. You know, he's earned it. He's worked it for it, and he's good. Like he's like regardless of the power,
he's not bad.
The man knows what he's doing. Yeah, he's very good at what he does.
Right
he's
now,
okay. Right now,
I was going to say,
second to Ty. He's the guy he's got to worry about.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. There's a look at the leaderboard. Bob McClure not far behind. Louis, Garrett, Brett, Trevor, they're all still well within range, and we'll see what happens here. Gate rolling field of 8, good-looking field of 8 trotters as Twilight hits here in the Forest City, race 6 from London.
Tender, Fox Valley, Ontario, the boss man, and trying to catch up to them for the trailing spot, Arrakis. Here they come. Race 6 trotters. And away they go. And it's heavy duty blasting for Rooney right off the car. Early control, and he's already got it by 4 open lengths. Heavy duty here, the son of Holiday Road, all by himself. Coming out of the first turn, up on the outside, trying to show second. The boss man, though no room at the inn just yet. Plugged in there for a 2-hole ride. Rose Run, why not for Trevor Henry? He's come on through to grab the pocket ride, backed off into third. The boss man for Louis Philippois, traveling in fourth. Monteverde, James McDonald catching up to them. Behind the gate was the 8, Arrakis and Bob McClure, gapped off a 6th for Explosive Motion, Travis Cullen. Then came goaltender Travis Henry, Fox Valley, Ontario. Tyler Borth would have to come from last. Pairing up now. It's going to be 4 in. It's going to be 4 out with 1 lap to go in the 6th. Heavy duty on the lead here at 3-1. Brought them by the half, 59-1. Following that quarter mile of 28 flat. Heavy duty bending them on towards the 5/8 with Monteverde offering up the first up pressure. 3rd and in for Rose Run. Why not? It's the toe up for Arrakis and a Bear Reed 5th. For the boss man. 3rd to last was goaltender, back markers, Explosive Motion, Fox Valley, Ontario. Here they go by 3/4, 128-3. Rooney lifting the lines on heavy duty. He's asked for more. He's responding heavy duty, and Rooney second best. Monteverde for James McDonald, 3rd and in. Rose Run, why not? Trevor Henry and a buried 4th. The boss man for Louis Philippois. Into the stretch they come. This is Garrett Rooney in his first regional driving championship, and he's going to be home a winner aboard. Heavy duty wins by 3. Monteverde, James McDonald second. On to take third appeared to be the boss man, Louis Philippois. Finding room late was Tyler Borth aboard Fox Valley, Ontario. He's in a 4th place photo, 158-2.
Garrett Rooney, that was his pick in the draft, heavy duty, and again, maybe the benefit of knowing this horse well. Doesn't drive this one very often. That could change after today, but would have driven against him many times and knows he's got that just tremendous speed off the gate. He gets off on the right foot, and he simply had them lined up so quickly that he got to control the race, and that was the difference.
Yeah, 4 holes the best spot too. You know, you just follow the car right out, like you said. Handy gate speed, and good for G too. He's the guy I'm cheering for. You know, he deserves to be at this, and yeah, that's awesome for him to get a win.
He's going to get 15 points for that victory, and he came into this race with 12 points. He was sitting mid-pack, so that's going to vault him up. And again, top 2 drivers will advance to the National Driving Championship, and you were talking about it with us during the course of that race. You just got to chip away in these challenges and just get points, even in spots where you probably shouldn't get much. If you can just find a way to get a little something and then cash in when you have an opportunity like this, it's huge. And for Garrett Rooney, here again, we've talked about a lot about Tyler Borth and his success vaulting up to Woodbine Mohawk Park. Garrett Rooney, he's just dominating right now here, just doing so well. And there's a driver again, I think, just shows again, you have some success and it just continues to snowball.
Yeah, no, he was like, I drove against Garrett my early years, like when I started driving here, and that's why I said he deserves it, because he drove like a lot of horses, but not very good ones. Mm-hmm. So it's really nice to see him get some power and actually win some races. And when Tyler went to Mohawk, that kind of opened up a little opportunity for him too. So it and a really good guy, and deserves it for sure.
For those who watch him here all the time, you'll know that our announcer, Sugar Doyle, dubbed him a few years ago the long shot specialist. He had a knack for getting long shots home. But now he's winning with everything, so it's kind of hard to think of him specifically as that. And if there was one, I don't know if it's a knock, but maybe just a hurdle he had to overcome when we were watching him a few years ago, you could see the ability. He'd win with those long shots, and then he'd get some favorites in races, and for whatever reason, wouldn't get the results. Yeah. And then he'd kind of maybe take a step backwards for a while. But he got over that hump, and now he's winning with everything. And he looks like the heir apparent here, with Tyler not here on a regular basis. Now he's really moved up into that role of, if he's not the top guy here, he's one of the very best here on a regular basis. So heavy duty. Getting it done. Former older horse of the year here in London. And, boy, that's as sharp as this guy has looked for quite some time, showing some past signs of his horse of the year form here today. An $8.70 winner, a generous win price on that one as well. Nice results in behind Monteverde as James McDonald keeps himself squarely in the mix toward the top of the standings. Trevor Henry, Louis-Philippe Bois with some good results there to keep themselves in contention as well. So race 6 completed. We're 4 races in. Still not quite at the halfway point. Long way to go here tonight. A lot could change. And we've got, we'll call it maybe the hump race coming up next here in race number 7. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with more with Scott Young and the rest of the panel coming up next.
Harness Racing Update features the sport's most talented and provocative lineup of writers. Garnet Barnsdale, Dave Briggs, Murray Brown, Frank Ottolo, Ron Gerfine, and Thomas Hedlund, as well as Bill Heller, Bob Hayden, Dean Hoffman, Victoria Howard, Chris Lomon, and David Mattia, and also James Platts, Bob Roberts, Sandra Snyder, Brett Sturman, Jay Wolf, and many more. See what everyone is talking about. Subscribe to HRU today for free at harnessracingupdate.com.
As the industry's leading sales agency, Preferred Equine's new online sales portal, Preferred Equine Online, offers the best online service available. Developed by our experienced sales team, the powerful new platform with cutting-edge technology makes buying and selling easy from the comfort of your home or office over any device. Our experienced sales team offers full customer service for buyers and sellers as it relates to the collection, distribution, and transfer of the horses offered. Sellers can enter a horse as easily as 123 with a searchable database while allowing comments, photos, and other documents. Buyers can view live pedigrees, past performances, and race videos. To view the sales schedule, create your account, or learn more, visit www.preferredequineonline.com or call our sales team at 914-773-7777.
Oh, yeah, listen to him.
And welcome back to the show here as of race number 5. So again, we don't have the most up-to-date. There will be a bit of a shift here after that last race. So here's how they stood going into that race. Tyler Borth on top. I'm not sure where he finished there, outside the top 4. So there'll definitely be a shift here. James picking up second place there. And Garrett Rooney with the win. He's going to vault up a spot or two in the standings as well. So things tighten up here as we move into race number 7. There you can see the weather. It's really turned into a very nice night here. A little bit on the cool side, but we will take it. It appears that the cloudiness has kind of moved on, and a pretty nice night for racing. The track is definitely spot on. Excellent track conditions here this evening. You drove in the second race tonight.
Yeah.
How did you find
track's probably like Molson Pace night, to be honest. He took
great.
all the stone off it, and I couldn't actually believe it. It's just like the middle of summer. It's really nice.
Yeah, we've been lucky. It's been a winter where things. Mother Nature took it easy on us much earlier than normal, so they've had a chance to, at times where you'd be just trying to get a track ready to race, they've actually been able to manicure it and fine-tune it rather than just getting it cleared for racing. So that's been
Don't have to tell you, Greg, about the winters, I'm sure, here. Some sleepless nights.
All these gray hairs, you know where a lot of those come from, for sure. And I've got an old whip in my office that... it gets quite a working over some days.
There you go.
Yeah,
shot.
I'm doing laps in my office, talking to people and monitoring the weather, and it's so this year Mother Nature finally took. She gives us a break every once in a while, and this year was one of them. We had one bad week, I think, here, and it's been good since. So. Yeah, this is the exciting time of year here. This event, of course, a nice addition to the schedule, but looking ahead to the Camluck, in a little over a month from now is exciting. We had Scott Ray on earlier, and maybe we ask you any horses you've been keeping an eye on early in the older ranks that you'd like to potentially see here?
I would love to see Shaquem bring his good horse back here. Yeah, you get a terrible trip yesterday, obviously, or tough trip, I should say, in Levy. But just a home horse to come here and what he can do on a half, it'd be really cool to see him.
Yeah, I mean, you think about what he did before he went to New York last year at Grand River.
Yeah, I know.
Track record, and I guess
and that's a massive mile on that track. Like people don't understand how fast 50 is. Like. Rare Jewel had that lifetime mark before then in 2007, the first year it was open, and nobody beat it till him. So just think about how fast that is.
And it was Garrett Rooney that drove him that night,
yep.
and I believe Garrett cites that as a career highlight to this point in time for him in the driver's seat. So, nice connection there. Who knows? We'll certainly be tracking him and be in contact to see what their plans are. With him on the mare's side, hoping so much more will be back to defend her title. We talked about that. Do you recall last year's Forest City?
She won it, right?
Yeah.
But
just
first
action,
over, tough, right?
Packed race from start to finish. It was a complete slugfest.
That's what you try and get on those nights too.
Yeah,
right?
it was
try
incredible.
And get a field that can do it.
The only race that maybe matched it that night for excitement, Yoda Queen, right in the city of London, 80-1 winner, the local horse. Yeah.
Made it onto the front cover of the program here tonight, too.
She turned into a nice filly, too. Like she had
very
a
nice
year,
filly.
Yeah.
Daughter of All Bets Off. All Bets Off, let's talk Ontario Sire Stakes and horses to watch coming up this season. I think Pashline, the daughter of All Bets Off, one of those exciting OSS performers that we're looking for. And we're seeing a lot of them out, Mark, you would know, qualifying recently. And you're usually there calling the action. It must be fun, right, to see them start to emerge?
Yeah, you kind of look forward to it. There's some of those days in the middle of the winter that you go out to qualifiers, and I'm not sitting out there on the track like these guys are, but it's your run-of-the-mill horses, but this is the good time of the year. In fact, maybe it's the schoolers right now that are almost even more fun to watch. Yesterday, Captain's Quarters, I saw him school after the qualifiers. I think we'll be seeing, or maybe already have, I know she was out there training a few weeks ago, Sylvia Hanover. Yeah. Those kind of horses, it's a lot of fun. So it's a Love Thing school last week that she's a Great Lady winner. So this is the fun time of the year, starting to look ahead. And I know we're talking a lot about Camluck Classic night, but obviously I'm biased about North America Cup night. The one thing is, though, so early on the stakes schedule, everybody usually takes a shot in those 3-year-old races, so you get some deep groups to kick things off.
Okay, we were talking moments ago about Garrett Rooney. Of course, he won in race 6. He's standing by right now with John Rowles.
All right, Garrett, you're just fresh off a win here with Heavy Duty. Garrett, for you looking after the draw and all your driving selections, did you think Heavy Duty gave you the best chance to get on the board here tonight?
Yeah, once the draw came out, I thought he was my best shot at winning a race here today.
How much stock do you put in after being a regular here in Western Fair and knowing the horse colony? Do you factor that in going to this competition, that maybe you have an edge on that?
Yeah, a little bit. I know a lot of the horses that are here every week and that, so I thought maybe I had a little edge there. But I mean, they're all great drivers here, so I mean, there's no real edge on driving wise. But
this is your first time participating here in the Regional Driving Championship. You're currently sitting third in the standings. What would it mean to you to qualify for the National Driving Championship here in your first try?
It'd mean everything. Yeah, it'd be great.
Thanks a lot, Garrett.
Yep, thanks.
All right, some words there from Garrett Rooney. He's got himself right in the thick of things here going forward. Race number 7. As we take a look at the lineup in this particular spot, he'll have an Atalanta Express trailing post 8 here. Maybe a thought on that post on this track, what kind of a horse you typically, or what kind of trip typically can win from there?
It's tough nowadays, I find, just because horses can get off the gate so quick. It's tough to change gears if you time in, and obviously which 1, 2, or 3 are leaving. But you don't see as much like 2-hole rides anymore from a trailing spot. You normally try and get away 4th or 5th and maybe grab some cover. Seems to be the best trip from back there.
And I mean, look at this group. We've got another field of trotters. It's a lot of veteran trotters here, so you don't have to worry about usually those unexpected breaks. But when you drive a trotter on this track, and you did earlier tonight, just got to be a little careful at times.
See, I was lucky tonight. My guy's pretty youngie proof, I like to call him. But you just can't just try not to rush them. Right. You know what I mean? That's the big thing, and especially if it's first time here, maybe give them a score down. And I always find on a half, you can always give yourself a little room, you know what I mean? So you don't have to ever check them or whatever. And just don't rush them. But once they kind of get the feet under themselves, then they're away.
Delgado, the horse that you had earlier, I had to look back because we were busy and we weren't really watching the first couple here tonight. This guy from your father's stable, Bob, has been a real force here in the preferred ranks. What's kind of a game plan for a horse like this? 5-year-old gelding, like you say, we see a lot of them here from week to week in the preferred. Are you eyeing up anything in particular him, or is he just a weekly racehorse?
I believe he's a weekly racehorse. We were kind of fortunate to actually get him back. Pollock actually bought him off my dad, last year, 2 years ago now, and they sent him back to us just to, because they didn't really have much racing for him down there. And he's one of those horses, I think he can almost trot, like he trotted Flamborough in 56, and, he could probably trot 54, 55 downtown. So he can almost trot the half as much as the big track. But I'd like to have fun with him this summer, maybe take him to the Vic Hayter or the Preferred here on Molson night, or Confederation Cup night, or Walker Memorial, whatever it might be. You know what I mean? Just have fun around the halves. And
there's enough races, really.
Oh, exactly. Like if you look at that Power and Grace mare of Brett's, like she doesn't even race at Mohawk, and she almost makes $100,000 a year racing around here. So, even if you can bang out, 60 or something, that's all they're really looking for.
One race that we're hoping to have here on Camluck Nights, the London Classic Yearling Sale Preferred Trot.
Yep.
Bit of an enhanced purse preferred event on that night. So, I would think the likes of Delgado, a full field of those types, would put on quite a horse race that night here in London. So we'll look forward to hopefully having that event on the program that night. We've got OSS, City of London, Forest City, so it's a busy program that night, and it's sort of dependent on how many divisions of the OSS grassroots we get for 3-year-old Colt Pacers this year.
Always fillies, actually, but it's Colts this year.
Colt Pacers this year, and that'll be a lot of fun. You're seeing horses just starting out their season, and like you said, Mark, a lot of them at that point, they're just kind of taking a shot to see where they fit. So you generally will get some full wide open fields, some kind of mystery horses as well. I want to say hello again to all of the viewers watching in today from all over Canada, in the U.S. and even abroad here. A good friend of ours, Jason Turnbull, he chimes in and he said he's hoping to see some of these top drivers make their way to Old Home Week this year, and that's a week you know well, and a race, the Gold Cup and Saucer, that you know well.
Yeah, it's probably that's the best week ever if you're ever going to go to PEI. But it was actually, I was very fortunate this year. I got to drive Covered Bridge in front at the beach in the Elims for Jeff Gillis, and then I was second in the final. And I hadn't been back in 10 years actually. It was 2012 or 2013. I had Piece of the Rock for my dad. Actually, it was the last horse I drove there. So, but you have to go drive horses like Covered Bridge in front at the beach. It was just a pleasure to be able to sit behind those type of animals for sure.
And second in the final,
second
correct?
To Covered Bridge. So Jeff was 1-2. So that was kind of the goal, really. He drew 9 and I drew 5, and I basically said if we drew inside 5, they should have been first and second. I thought they were the best 2 in the race.
Now, Greg always asks me, how have I never been to Old Home Week? And I still haven't. I know I got to get there at some point. I know I'll have an absolute blast.
Would you recommend it, Scott?
I would recommend it.
Well, that's basically what I would
recommend.
I know you recommend it.
I actually this year I got to fly down on the weekend for the Elims with Haley and Cavan too, so that was great. We got to spend 4 days in PEI just kind of eating seafood and enjoying the scenery, and you can't beat it. The weather's great.
Sounds awful. Jeez.
The airline companies know people are coming though, because they do charge you to go. I'll tell you that week. But no, you can't beat it. It's double card racing all week, and
it's all the things
awesome,
Mark doesn't like. horse racing,
Yeah.
a few beers,
food, good
seafood,
weather.
golf,
Yeah.
All
the
the things
beach,
you wouldn't want to do.
you
No,
would
I
not
wouldn't wanna
like.
do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Sounds terrible.
All right, we're going to bring in John Rallis once again here, John, for your thoughts on race number 7. Being that it's a competition now, and we're at the midway point of that, how much are you factoring that into your handicapping of this race versus what you might under normal circumstances?
Well, I think you definitely want to factor in that there's going to be a lot more action, a lot more movement. You hear that as a constant from all the drivers participating, right? But sometimes when the guys want to maybe zig and others zag, I mean, sometimes there's a little bit of uncertainty. In most cases, you're going to know what drivers are going to do on a given night, typically driving a horse. But here with the competition, when the top 2 spots qualify for the NDC, I think it really changed the complexion of things. So, you want to factor that in just a little bit, right? I mean, you saw a couple races ago, and I talked about how journalistic was scratched. Really changed the complexion early on of the mile. I think it really made things easier for a horse like Devil's Peak to maybe jolt out to the lead, because I do think journalistic typically is a horse who's braver on the front. So that's something you definitely have to factor into. And as the races continue to progress, guys, and when you notice that maybe the kind of the standings kind of get a little bit tighter and those races have a little bit more meaning, I think you're going to see a lot more guys be a little bit more aggressive than they usually are. I think this is a pretty wide open event, though, here to kick off this late pick 5. I think you see it based on the tote board. You see RJ Hooker right now as a favorite at 2-1. This was Louis' top selection in the race. He did draw pretty well, so he's definitely a main player. But you know what? I'm intrigued with the 6 Daylon Midnight, guys. You see a bridle change now. He's going to a blind bridle tonight. He's got Trevor Henry. We know that he's capable of making speed. And the last couple of times at this level, he's been a solid second-place finisher. So I know he draws post 6, but Trevor Henry, he can really get one to go, hence his nickname, Trevor Henry, to the front. This guy, new set of hands tonight. I'm interested to see how he responds with Trevor Henry. Interested to hear what you guys have to say about this one.
Well, you're on the horse that I know Scott Young really likes as well. So tell us, Scott, is John onto something with 6 Daylon Midnight?
Oh, Rallis thinks he knows what he's doing half the time. But no, I'm a big fan of the 6 too. He's a very honest gated trotter, and I think Trevor Henry's going to liven him up. He's got decent gate speed. He fits this class really well. The last 2 times he was down this cheap, he was sacking both times. And yeah, 6 hole's a good spot. Not a ton of speed on the inside. And I just feel Trevor's going to get a little respect in this one.
Yeah, I'm looking at a horse right beside him in the 5, Dusty Lane Thunder, who I think should be a player. Talk about drawing the second tier quite often. 3 out of the last 5 times this horse has had to leave from the second tier and hasn't really necessarily been in play, but finding a way to at least get checks. Maybe goes a little more forward this time out. We've seen horses trying to get off the middle of the gate in good position, so I'll keep an eye on that one. And John was mentioning quite a few horses in this race here, but I think this is one of our more competitive races of the evening. A driver that we've talked about all night taking a ton of money every race is James McDonald. He's not in this race, so you don't even have that maybe swaying the odds board a bit. And just look at it right there. This is a great betting race.
For me, Road to Redemption will be my sleeper play here. A long shot possibility. Hasn't won in quite some time. And we'll need the right kind of trip scenario, but I think there's an opportunity for that to happen here. Bob McClure will try and engineer that from post number 3. Wide open trotting event, as Mark mentioned. Here's Shannon Sugar Doyle with the call of race 7.
Trevor Henry, Oki Healy, Travis Cullen, Atalanta Express in the back tier, Garrett Rooney. The Ontario Regional Driving Championship continues. They're off, and a breaker at the start. Road to Redemption to 3 for Bob McClure has jumped it off. Sailing to the top just like that. An easy early lead for Daylon Midnight, and the King of London, Trevor Henry's got it by 4. Here in the early going, I Am What I Am, second. Trotting from third, Kilmartin Dreamer, big price player for Travis Henry. 30-1 shot sitting third. Traveling in fourth, we've got RJ Hooker for Louis Philippois. Fifth best away, Atalanta Express. Garrett Rooney going third to last. Would be Dusty Lane Thunder, Brett MacDonald. Then came Oki Healy, Travis Cullen, distanced after the gate break. Way back to Road to Redemption, Bob McClure. 29 flat, opened it up. Daylon Midnight is racing by himself. and they can't get close just yet. Halftime leader, a stranglehold. Trevor Henry aboard Daylon Midnight. 59-1, the halftime speed. Inching closer, second. I Am What I Am for fourth. Trotting from third, Longshot, Kilmartin Dreamer, Travis Henry. A peek to the outside in fourth. RJ Hooker for Waugh. Saving ground. Gaining position near Dusty Lane Thunder, Brett McDonald. Outside and rolling, Atalanta Express and Rooney. And seventh on the in, Oki Healy for Cullen. Up and by 3/4, Daylon Midnight got them there in 1:28-4. It's a showdown now. Borth from the pocket. I Am What I Am up against Trevor Henry and Daylon Midnight. The showdown did not last long. Borth sending I Am What I Am to a lead of 3 lengths. Daylon Midnight is clinging to second. It appears they're going to race for a place. And this one, it's all Tyler Borth with I Am What I Am on top and trotting off into the night. Kilmartin Dreamer at 30-1 is second for Travis Henry. Louis Philippe Waugh shows up in third with RJ Hooker, 159-2.
Well, there it is, Tyler Borth again. What a night at the office for him on home turf here in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship, and he clicks for another win here. This one, a mild upset win, Mark, at odds of 5-1. The horse was 0 for 12 coming in. The horse did get to the winner's circle 5 times last year, but had not been able to get the W so far this season. Had 6 on the board finishes, though, had been knocking at the door, but tonight the trip just too good, and you could tell at 3/4 that Tyler had the live wire.
Yeah, just moved him out and then went right around our leader to that point, being Daylon Midnight. And I thought Daylon Midnight was kind of, well, he was out all alone on the lead. I thought kind of getting things his own way. I didn't think those fractions were going to be too taxing on him. Trevor Henry certainly had him pumped up. You could see the hold he had on him as he took him into that first turn. He had this one ready to fire. And didn't matter. Number one, I Am What I Am comes through. Second time tonight we've seen a horse get off the schneid and get into the winner's circle for the first time in quite some time. So maybe a little something to that, maybe a little shake-up for these horses, getting a different driver. Tyler Borth now got a couple of wins on the night. And you know what? You were saying it to me just before we came back up. Right now, he's put himself comfortably in a good position to try and get one of those 2 spots to advance out of this Ontario Regional Driving Championship. And perfect work out here for I Am What I Am. And again, a horse from the rail that wasn't necessarily logical, but if you're the driver in this spot, you've got to make hay, and that's exactly what Tyler did.
Had the trip, and that's the best you can ask for is to get away second. And we thought, after talking so much about Daylon Midnight before the race, he landed on the lead so easily. And the opening quarter, relatively comfortable in 29 seconds. We thought it would be a real uphill climb to beat Daylon Midnight, but by the time they reached that 3/4 post, you could tell that I Am What I Am was going to be live from the pocket, and he ends up being a going-away winner, 59-2. So Tyler really clicking with this guy and kind of elevating him a little bit tonight from the post 1 start, and the gelding winning for the first time in start number 13. Here's one for the horse players, too. You're getting 5-1 on this guy. Nice way to start that late pick 5, and some long shots in behind here, so you're going to have a big superfecta return as well.
Yeah, you will, and it's funny, our special guest there, Scott Young, got up from his seat. This race got to the quarter. I think he thought it was over. I think he thought he had called this one. And I think a lot of us did, too. It looked like
he was going to do the mic drop.
Yeah, he did. He kind of threw it away, and he was like, see you boys later. But we saw what ended up happening here, and it works out well for Tyler Borth and continues to have a big night so far for him. And you mentioned it. We get to the halfway point. We got 4 races to go in the competition. We'll hopefully get a look at those standings very soon, and he's got himself in a good spot. James McDonald wasn't in this race. I believe he had a slight lead coming into this one. Tyler will vault himself right back up to the top.
And there's a look at the pari-mutuel returns. $12.20 on the win. Big long shot second, Kilmartin Dreamer. And that triggers a superfecta 20-center at just shy of $2,500 here in the 7th race. So we move on. Race number 8 is on deck, and we're back on the pace for the upcoming contest here as part of our Ontario Regional Driving Championship coverage for 2024. We'll have more from London after the break.
For over 25 years, Tara Hill Stud has worked with partners to help produce champion stallions. We are proud to have bred great racehorses like Fade Out, Shower Play, Precious Delight, and There's a Demon in Me. Our stallions, past and present, have had tremendous success while making a huge impact on racing across North America. Mr. Levesque, Mach 3, Cadabra, Muscle Mass, and Precious Bunny, to name a few. Our stallions' progeny have won major events, including the Hambletonian. Tara Hill Stud are currently standing 9 of the industry's top stallions. Alarm Detector, Control the Moment, Danson Lou, Flanagan Memory, Green Manalishi, He's Watching, Muscle Mass, Resolve, and Sports Writer. Our facility is modern, our staff knowledgeable. Consider Tara Hill Stud when choosing a home for your stallion. Tara Hill Stud, where champions stand and champion yearlings are raised. Log on to TaraHills.com.
Welcome back to the Winner's Circle here in London, Ontario at the Raceway. That's been a familiar stop tonight for driver Tyler Borth, and he is out front in our driver standings. Again, we're going to try and get you an updated look at those standings in the segment if we can, but in the meantime, we will turn our attention to the upcoming 8th race on the docket. We're going to switch back to the pace here, and so far we've seen the cream sort of rising to the top. Some of the guys that would have been expected to be favored coming in based on their resumes, Tyler Borth, James McDonald, doing quite well so far. We thought it was going to be wide open in terms of the draft, but again, I guess we have to give a lot of credit to these guys for maybe elevating some horses that weren't expected to do as well, but then also when they have the opportunity, picking well in the draft like Tyler did earlier.
Yeah, there's a skill to it all, right? And for a lot of these top drivers, they're used to making choices because they get multiples in races when the overnight sheet comes out, so they've got to have to take a look. And a lot of the times there is going to be some allegiance to stables that they drive for, but there are other times you just can't overlook the better horse if it's going to give you that opportunity to win. And they're making some good selections, are the guys that are pushing themselves out in front. Tyler Borth's going to be off for this next race, so maybe at this point he probably doesn't want to take a seat
right.
and take a break. I know that question was asked a little bit earlier in the night to Travis Henry, and before the competition starts, there probably really isn't an answer. Do you want to be off early or late? But as it's gone along, I kind of get the feeling, as you get into the later stages, you just want to have a chance. It's just having an idea, knowing what you got to shoot for, knowing what you need. And Tyler Borth, though, can sit comfortably in the driver's room with this race off, knowing that he's got himself at the top of the standings and is having a wonderful night. I've just taken a quick look back. He had a second, a win, a fifth, and another win. So, again, he is just having a fantastic evening to this point and sets himself up well for the back half of the competition.
James McDonald, he'll be back in action in this 8th race. He's on the 5-something Royal, so he'll be hoping for a big result here to get himself back up near the top of the standings. A little bit of bragging rights here. I mean, the guys obviously first and foremost want to be top 2 to give themselves a chance in the national championship, but you also want the bragging rights of saying, you came here and you won the Ontario Regional. And I think it really is bragging rights because the driving colony Ontario is so deep. It's sort of, I would equate it maybe to something like international hockey or curling in Canada, where you could take several teams. You could go all the way down to maybe 10th or 20th, and they'd still be very competitive. And I think in the driving side here, you could pick 8 or 10 other drivers, bring them here today, and you'd have a field that would be almost comparable in terms of quality. There's just so much depth in Ontario. So I think it's a real feather in the cap of these guys and a real testament to their ability that they're the 9 guys here competing today.
And I will say, I know the fact that I mentioned it earlier that Doug McNair didn't have to be in this one because he's got an automatic berth into the National Driving Championship. I think the fact that you're going to see 3 Ontario-based drivers be in that National Driving Championship is a good thing, because this is where a majority of the racing does happen. Essentially, this is kind of like an all-star game here tonight, right? There is so much talent, and you're right. If you can get out of this one, this is kind of like the group of death at the World Cup. You get out of this one, get yourself in to the National Driving Championship, and then hopefully get that opportunity to represent your country.
Well, the man of the hour tonight has been Tyler Borth to this point, and right now he's standing by with John in the paddock.
All right, here alongside driver Tyler Borth, who's making the most of his first time participating in the RDC. Tyler, you've got 2 wins in this competition. Your sole possession of first place by quite a bit. How important was it for you to get on the board, especially with your first pick, though?
Yeah, my first pick was Devil's Peak, and then so the draw was done after we picked. So when I seen the entries and I seen that Journalistic was inside of me, I kind of wish I had picked him first. Then he was scratched, and when I seen he was scratched, I thought I could make the front, and I thought I could maybe get it to him.
You played the role of upsetter here with I Am What I Am. Trevor kind of built up an what seemed like maybe an insurmountable lead, especially here at London. Were you confident with the way you were rating your guy, given the fact that you know the horse colony here?
Yeah, I was confident that my guy, like I've seen him, he's been first up a couple times and he hasn't really tired that much. But if you asked me going into the race, when we were doing our picks, I would have actually picked Daylon Midnight over him. And the way the race set up, I was thinking, yeah, that's kind of how I thought. And I thought Daylon Midnight would win, and I was just going to try and hold second. But we ended up getting the job done.
So through 5 of these races now, you sit sole possession of first place. You've got this race off now. Do you kind of like the fact that you've got kind of a lead and you've got 54 points out? Do you kind of like the fact that you've got a lead and you can maybe overview what you need to do for the rest of the card?
Well, yeah, now it's nice to have a lead, obviously. Now I always do try to drive smart. Not like I did in the first race tonight, but I've been driving good since then. So now it's just like if I do have a bad horse, try to drive really smart and just, bang out a 4th or a 5th and go from there.
Now, I asked this to the other guys who have been racing here at the Western Fair here regularly. Did you give yourself an advantage? Now, I know everyone else is talented here, but did you give yourself an advantage going to this competition because of your familiarity with all the horses?
Yeah, I mean, you need the horsepower. Like, with the horse that I just went with, I think if any of the other guys were driving them, they would have done the same thing as I did. I was just fortunate enough to have the rail and get a good trip. Yeah, I could say I gave myself a bit of an advantage just because I know a lot of the horses, and I'm very comfortable here. Like, I still drive here 2 days a week, and any time that I race here, I'm very comfortable on the bike and very confident in my abilities. And so far, it's been working out.
Best of luck the rest of the way, Tyler. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, confidence with a capital C there for sure. Tyler Borth brimming with that right now. He got a race off to just relax and get ready to go for that final push over the last 3 races here. So, the forgotten man, the guy we haven't talked about tonight, sitting on the sidelines watching in's Doug McNair. So we should give him a shout out. I think he's at home watching tonight. We often talk about him a lot, so tonight we wanted to just kind of give the other guys a bit of their due.
Yeah, he gets a ton of flowers, doesn't he, right? But he's actually a pretty good television critic as well, so I'm sure he'll send me a few notes throughout the evening to let us know how it's going.
All right, here is the updated leaderboard. Tyler Borth, yes, with another win there. He's given himself a bit of separation at the top, 54 points. James sitting second at 37, and Garrett Rooney in the rear view mirror with 30. So he's got himself well positioned here going into the final few races. Bob and Trevor have got themselves in range. And nice bounce back here from Travis Henry. Started off slow. The first couple had some really unfortunate luck. His horse pulled up, in fact, in the first race of the night. He's up to 22 points and still, I think, an outside shot if he can really make something happen over the last few. Getting set to meet the field here now for the 8th. Pacers here, filly and mare claiming event. Full field of 8 to go post. Another good betting board, and that's what you like to see. Lukewarm favorite Shady Memories, Louis Philippe Bois. Post 1 start for this one. 2-time winner this season. Next door neighbor Furiosa, a couple of wins. Garrett Rooney in the driver's seat. I believe Garrett has driven this horse here at certain points in the past, so he picks up a live drive and a good post to work with. And boy, another good result gets the local guy right into the hunt.
Yeah, I think he has to really see this as a major opportunity in this spot because here's a horse that was 5th pick for him in this race. He had the 5th pick, got Furiosa, and then had a really good draw. A horse that won last time out, was a victory over and off going and rallied in that race with a pretty good back half to get the job done. So when you look at this veteran mare, this 9-year-old, she's got 21 wins in her career. And again, I think the familiarity is just going to be a big factor. Garrett's driving with lots of confidence, and we thought maybe with this moment would he get a little overwhelmed. Wasn't the case. It started off well, got to the winner's circle. And again, you just heard it from Tyler Borth. He was mentioning now he's got to drive smart. Now, he said not that he doesn't drive smart every race, but he's got himself in a good position. He needs to hold that ground and just continue to get good results. Some of these other guys have to take some chances. In the case of Garrett Rooney, I think it's don't overdrive this one, make something happen.
So getting a look at the field now for race number 8, an exciting part of the competition. Speaking of exciting, the man who calls the action here on a regular basis, a few people commenting on how much they enjoy Sugar Doyle on these big nights, and I certainly concur. Maybe a little bit biased, but I think this is where Sugar's at his best on these big nights. He can project the emotion and the excitement, as well as I think anybody in the business. And again, I think these are the nights where he really shines. I know he gets pumped for them, and it translates well. So thanks to the folks tuning in with the nice comments regarding that here as we get set for race number 8. And the excitement's just going to build here toward the end. This is what you want to see in these competitions. You hate to see one guy kind of running away with it early and put it to bed quickly here and sort of take the drama out of it. You want to have, 2, 3, even 4 guys in that hunt with a chance to win it over the last 2 or 3 races.
Yeah, and you look at the difference in the standings right now, first to second. Tyler Borth, 54 points. James McDonald, 37 points. So no matter what, nobody's catching Tyler in this race. And then you look at that gap from second down to third. Well, between James McDonald and Garrett Rooney, it's only 7 points. And then 4 more points down to Bob McClure and Trevor Henry. So there can be some big swings coming up in this race, and I know we're kind of starting to get down into crunch time, but you've still got several drivers in the hunt to try and get one of these 2 spots. Again, it's top 2 that will advance out of London heading to Quebec in July.
So the final score out's happening here prior to the 8th race, and 9-5. Shady Memories continues to get a lot of the tote support. The money is absolutely spread out with the horses in behind. I would give an outside horse a shot here, Del Diggity, as we get a look at that one on screen. This Daughter of So Surreal. A scratch last time, but that was a judge's scratch, so certainly nothing to be concerned about. Comes right back on the regular rotation here. The last time we saw this one racing was at the big track, Mohawk Park, and a dominant winner there. I think you'd have to expect that's going to translate well into this spot.
Yeah, it should, and that was the first start for New Connections after getting claimed back on March 21st. So talk about big delivery in the first time out for trainer Pam Forgy, but then was a scratch last time, transportation scratch on April 14th. So we're going a couple of weeks in between starts and a return to the half-mile oval. But again, a horse that, based off that last effort, if it can be anything even close, will be an absolute factor in this one.
For the horse players, this one is going to start the late pick 4 tonight, $5,000 guaranteed pool, well up and over that, and expecting a big pool here. John Rallis, maybe a quick thought on the pick 4 overall, if you've had a chance to look at the sequence, and is there a horse here you really like to kick it off?
Yeah, you know what? I was really interested with this race, Greg, the way that kind of shaped out, because you see Del Diggity here from the 7-hole. Right now, she's kind of proven to be one of the best 8 to 10 claimers in the sport, or at least in Canada. But the last time she kind of drew an outside post at Flamborough, she didn't really respond super well. I'm interested to see how she responds here. But Shady Memories was a horse that I kind of wanted to use as a medium price player, but now you're seeing the support here at 3-2. She was so good when she shook loose late in the mile, and she had a lot of pace, but we haven't seen too much. We've seen some early footing from her. I just don't know how she's going to get away, even with the rail jaw. She's going to have to maybe work a little extra hard, but interesting to see if Louis maybe kind of elects to let the dust settle, because there are a few horses that might want to vie out for early positioning, or if he wants to take matters in his own hands as well. As far as some other pick 4 players, though, I do think that maybe a horse like, Matt's Tuition. I know he's 2-1 on the morning line here tonight, guys, but I think he might be more of a value player here. I think there are some other rivals who might take a bit more support. We know how tough he is when he makes the front, so I could see him being a fairly decent price here. Not a long shot, one of the main contenders, but I don't think there's a good chance he also might not go off as the race favorite. So for me, I am on Shady Memories. I know she's taking more support at 9-5, but I think Early Bird Special is one that really intrigues me, going to a new outfit and a new barn to Lindsay Kerr. But again, the second tier is just so daunting, and maybe if Shady Memories can get out of there, Travis can kind of work out a pretty stalking trip, but it might be a little too tough.
Thank you very much, John Rallis. The well-traveled John Rallis, we should mention. Of course, a familiar face last season. I was involved in the Mohawk Park broadcast crew for the entire stake season last year, and more recently we're seeing a lot of John down at the Meadowlands with the great TV crew down there as well. and joining us here tonight in the paddock and covering things off beautifully out there for us as well. Going to have another good friend of the show join us after this race. Tony Elliott will be in the seat here in the middle for the last few races here as we get set for race number 8. This is, we're getting to a critical point in the competition here. This is a big one. Tyler Borth, the leader, has the race off. Wide open field here. A big result could vault somebody else up into the mix here as we move on to race number 8 of the competition here this evening. Once again, Shannon Sugar Doyle with the race call.
For 7 across, back tearing it, Early Bird Special, 8th of a mile out. Pacers pick up speed. Here they come. Again, it's the opening leg of a late pick 4 in London. It starts now. They're off towards the inside. Furiosa showing up here in the early going. Little T was leaving from the center. Launching from post 3 was raising a rocket. Up on the wide side travels Del Diggity. They're 3 wide through the opening turn. Furiosa as deposited Little T in for the 2-hole ride. So here we go. Furiosa, Garrett Rooney on the boiler here. Parking out Del Diggity and Brett McDonald showing second best on the outside. Hot opening quarter matches the bullet speed tonight. 27-1 for a fired up Furiosa at 5-1. She's leading here and giving the cold horse shoulder to Del Diggity. Little T for Travis Henry for the trip in third. Trevor Henry in behind fourth with a raise and a rocket, a gap of 4 to an oncoming Early Bird Special. Travis Henry in play, then sixth and on the in. Shady Memories for Louis-Philippe Roy. Out of the backfield, Something Royal, James McDonald. The gapped off trailer was Kiss It Better and Bob McClure over the half and a nifty 50. 6-1. Furiosa still going forward here onto the backside. Her lead has become 2 full lengths for Garrett Rooney. He's chasing her up now to lead him on by 3/4. Furiosa still coming on the outside. Brett McDonald has Del Diggity digging down deep by 3/4. They're in a bunch. Throw a blanket over them. 3 lengths front to back, all 8 and any one of 8 with just over an 8 left to go after 3/4. Teened and Beam 126-3 indeed. Show 'em if you got 'em. Del Diggity on the outside. Furiosa gave it up. Here comes Shady Memories. Grandstand side. Kiss It Better from last to the finish. Shady Memories against Del Diggity in a win photo. Close for third as well. Kiss It Better up against it with Raise and a Rocket. 158-1.
Well, that was a take no prisoners approach in race number 8. Furiosa, Del Diggity went at it from start to finish. They hung right in until the top of the stretch, but the fractions really start to take their toll on most of them. But Del Diggity, boy, did she hang in. You have to think if she ever makes the front in there, it's going to be a lights out for the rest. Shady Memories needs every bit of the home stretch to get there. A slowing final quarter, albeit, but you have to give high marks to the runner-up in there.
Yeah, you do, and even top of the lane there, as she started to edge by, I thought maybe she is going to win. Couldn't believe it, but this one just fought and unfortunately gets picked off. Louis Waugh, slick drive, though, up the backstretch at 3/4, was able to slip out and get between rivals and then got that seam to come down the center of the track and win it. And works out for the horse that got to save ground for quite a bit of time in this mile and gets on by and beats the one that was left out every step of the way. But what a game effort from Del Diggity, who I think is entered right back in on Thursday night at Woodbine Mohawk Park. So not sure what'll be left in the tank.
And Shady Memories, Louis-Philippe Roy. I kind of lost sight of this one throughout the race, so I'm not really sure. I'll have to watch it again to see exactly the type of trip that Louis engineered with this one. The public was certainly all over Shady Memories and ultimately had it right and needed that sort of perfect stick handling steer to get through and win when you look at how the race unfolded.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was saying. I mean, I'm just looking back here at a still going to 3/4, and this one's probably sitting 5 lengths off the lead. 4th down at the rail, but really is actually sitting 6th in this race. And if it wasn't for the fact that One of them had to make a 3-wide move. I'm trying to see who that was. I think it was Furiosa. If Furiosa doesn't go 3-wide, there's probably never going to be that seam, or at least not in time for Louis to be able to slip out, but he got in between rivals and then had that opportunity at the head of the lane to come on through and got the job done. And you didn't want to write out Louis-Philippe Roy in this competition. You knew he'd have something to say at some point, and he gets it right there. Another horse from the rail, and I'm not sure the final odds on this one, but again, I think you were probably not a bad return for a rail starter.
9-5. So
okay, did go. Okay, I was completely out to lunch on that one.
Drifted up a little bit.
Much lower than that 6-1 morning line price.
For sure. And there's a look at the final return, 580 with Del Diggity, the game second in there. Number 6, Kiss It Better, Bob McClure. They rally from way back to be third. Raisin a Rocket, and Trevor Henry with fourth place money there. Another nice mutual return in the Superfecta, just over $1,000 for the $1 combination. Louis Roy, a 2-time winner of our signature race here, the Camluck Classic. Of course, won it in track record time with Rock and Ron, more recently with Jimmy Freight. And he clicks here in the ORDC with Shady Memories from Post 1, 158 and 1. Down to 3 races remaining in the competition. Friend Tony Elliott will join us the rest of the way. We'll be back in a moment with the start of race number 9 as we're back on the trot from London.
By now, you know the name Cosa-Tv, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. Cosa-Tv has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out hpibet.com. Cosa-Tv, taking Ontario racing global.
Enjoy the thrill of the race anywhere, anytime with hpibet.com. Join for free and use your smartphone, tablet, or PC to watch and wager when you can't be at the track. Stream live racing from over 450 tracks. Bet with ease from anywhere. It's safe and secure. Get rewards, race alerts, tips, and more. For a limited time, get $100 when you become a member. Plus, 1 month free live race streaming, and your first bet is on us. Go to hpibet.com to join for free today.
And we are back to the raceway in London, Ontario, and what has ended up to be a pretty nice night overall weather-wise, and some great racing on track there. Putting on a show this year in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. The first of 4 regional championships. The top 2 from each are going to move on to the national final in Quebec later this summer. So the competition is fierce here, and it's still up for grabs. Still a few guys in with a shot here as we move into the home stretch, so to speak. Tony Elliott joins us now, a familiar face here at Western Fair, former GM here. You kind of cut your teeth at Hanover Raceway and Clinton and those tracks, and a couple of years back now, we moved down to the road to Woodbine Mohawk Park, working with friend Mark here. And what are you up to down there these days?
Well, thanks for having me on, of course. But
no,
I'm up to a little bit of everything. You know, everything that kind of touches HPI Bet from a promotion standpoint, I kind of take care of that. And then kind of anything from the racing perspective for both breeds. It's keeps us busy. Some of us more than others, depending. But you know, it's good. It's good.
Well, if you're going to go there, I'd like to bring up, as we reflect on your lengthy career in harness racing, there was a time I remember making the venture up to Hanover Raceway. Got an invitation from our friend Steve Fitzsimmons, and he mentioned, hey, could you go on the air? We got this young guy, Tony Elliott. And I remember you told me just what an honor it was, like a privilege to work with Mark McKelvey. Does that sentiment still ring true?
You know what they say, like you should never meet your heroes, you know?
I knew that's where that was going to go. But no, Tony, all kidding aside, it's nice to have you on the team there at Woodbine Mohawk Park. And you still, obviously, are a big fan of what goes on back here at the Raceway and wanted to be here tonight. So great to have you with us. And you watch all the racing across Ontario, probably as closely as anyone that I do know. And with your role in HPI Bet, you look at a night like tonight with the Raceway at Western Fair, but all season long. And Greg, obviously, you guys are doing a wonderful job, and you see those handles. But it's a great wagering product. You know it firsthand, and obviously our customers seem to as well.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan. Obviously, it's a little biased because obviously I worked here, but obviously a great team here. They put on a great product, and it's certainly well received by customers. And you can just see by the weekly and nightly handles that the customers are very receptive to it. And we're seeing tonight just how competitive the product is, and it's a great wagering product too for the wagering menu that's here.
We're all over the map here. 1 minute we're criticizing each other. Now it's a love fest. This is wonderful.
You got to be nice. I'm driving them home.
That's right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no gas money either.
Yeah, we like to have fun with each other, but a lot of mutual respect here at the table for sure. And I know you're very busy right now. The thoroughbred season just getting set to kick off too, right? And it's a dual breed operation. Had to be a bit of a change, bit of a learning curve for you.
Yeah, it certainly is different, and just the depth and the breadth of the thoroughbred industry is a lot different than standardbreds. Obviously, some would accuse me of being a thoroughbred guy now. That's not, just want to clear the record, that's not the case. I'm still a core standardbred harness guy, so no, but this weekend, obviously, the opening day, April 27th and 28th opening weekend is, we're certainly circled on the calendar. We kind of shut down for a few months. Obviously, Woodbine Mohawk Park continues over the winter, which is great, and they kind of hold down the fort, but certainly a lot of people have it circled on the calendar. I'm sure Mark and I do too, and a lot of other horse players and just fans in general are excited to see the thoroughbreds back.
Okay, I'm getting word we're going to head back over to our paddock location. We'll catch up with colleague John Rallis, who has another special guest.
All right, alongside here with Louis Watt as he got on the board with Shady Memories. Louis, you're tied right now for second with James McDonald, 41 points apiece. And for you so far, how happy have you been with your draw as a whole tonight?
It's like the first three races I had, I think they were my worst positions, 6, 7, and 8. So they still managed to get good check, third and fourth, I think. So I was kind of happy with that result. I got a little disappointed. My main shot of the day was probably RG Incur, I thought. And he was third. So at that point, I said, well, it might be too late for me, but this still gave me a little bit more hope.
Yeah, talk about the trip there tonight. You had the rail. She went off at 9-5. Were you kind of feeling pressure to maybe push her out of the rail, or were you just confident to maybe let the dust settle there?
Well, she's a filly. She's not the best gated and probably not the quickest. She's just tough, right? So for me, the rail wasn't really a good spot there. I told Gerard before, I said, we at least have to have a shot to go out, to move her, to go out. And the only place she felt like me she wanted to go was leaving the gate, but I was a little careful with her. So if I had to drive her again, maybe I would try to get her a little closer there, because the rest of the mile she made me work hard to get her going, you know. And I got lucky. It just opened up for me. Sometimes you better be lucky than good.
Now, you phoned in a friend here to kind of help you out with this draw and the selections as well. Kind of give us, what do you think of Ghislaine Paquette's job so far?
Yeah, like so far, I don't think I could have done better, you know. I'm sitting in a position where I got a shot to be in the top two with 3 races left, I believe. So I can't ask for better, then it's my job.
Knowing how close you are now with 3 races remaining, is there a bit more pressure in terms of how you want to kind of drive certain horses, or are you just going to stick to the script so far?
I think every race we go in, we have pressure, so I mean, it won't really change the way I'm going to drive, I think.
Perfect. Best of luck the rest of the way, Louis. Thank you.
Thanks.
Another very cool customer, Louis-Philippe Waugh, just kind of quietly now works up into a tie for second with James McDonald. So yeah, things have gotten interesting here. I think your top, even all the way down to Trevor Henry, I think still has a chance here. 3 races left to go, so a lot of points still on the table here, and things could really get a big shake-up here going into this leg. Anybody jump out at you here, guys, as we get a look at them coming out onto the track? Who do you think's got the upper hand in this one?
Well, before we take a look at that race, I just want to point out, when you look at the standings, Louis and James have both had their break, so they're in the rest of the races as we go through the competition. Bob McClure, who's currently sitting 4th, he's not in the last race of the competition. So I think, again, kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Louis sat out the very first one, and then now he's kind of making his presence known. So it's something we'll have to keep our eye on as we move here into the final stages. And in this 9th race, we go back over to the trot, and from the rail, Pierce Wave Hanover, the 12-year-old, is getting a ton of respect and taking a ton of the action on the board. And I can understand that. Morning line favorite, a horse that has just been such a consistent performer this winter here at London, having won twice in the last 3 starts. And I don't know, Tony, maybe you're looking somewhere else, but this is one that, again, kind of a standout on the page.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you here, Mark. Like, Pierce Wave Hanover seems to stand out in this group, especially from the rail. And I think we were talking about before the show, like, Brett McDonald has quite the lineup, and he hasn't really kind of shown up just yet. Obviously, a second in the last race, and he's just starting to hit the peak of his lineup here. And I think he's just going to continually improve. I don't know how the numbers all work out, if he can climb back into this competition or not, but he certainly has the stock to make a run at least.
This horse now, a 12-year-old. I have to ask, do you know where the name came from?
Yeah, from Ron Pierce.
There
Pierce
you go.
Ways bye-bye.
Yes, there you go. That's it. You know what, man? He was probably only 3 years old, but he remembers that one, Greg. That's an iconic.
Iconic is right.
Yeah.
And at the time, he mixed reviews on that. Some people loved it, and others thought it was just
a hot dog and showing somebody up. I'm sure Tron Sledgehammer thought he was getting shown up when
he wasn't a fan for a while.
Passionate Clyde was the Trotton filly, just going by in the Kentucky Filly.
And that was Ron Pierce. He just everything was instinct, and just something came over him. He said he just did it on the spur of the moment. It wasn't a planned thing, and it's an iconic moment. You're absolutely right. And I remember back in my younger days when I was Winter Circle interviewer at Woodbine and Mohawk, and he was always a favorite because you just never knew what he was going to say. And as genuine as they come and candid as they come, and you had to be prepared. You could get a curveball every once in a while, but some great sound bites.
Oh, they were again, I used the word iconic on his wave, but his interviews were can't miss. And I have just a Ron Pierce story. I was a young kid and hanging around Mohawk, and I remember one night I was tabbed to hand out hats on Maple Leaf Trot Night as they were giving them to the fans as they came in, and they put me by the door near the paddock. And Ron Pierce must have came by like 10 different times to get a hat, kind of pretending like he hadn't got one the first 10 times he went by. He was Ron Pierce. He could have just told me, I need 10 hats. I wasn't going to say no, but that's just the kind of guy he was. And who knows? Every once in a while I see his name pop up on Facebook. He comments on something. He watches along. I know that he sees a lot of our stuff as well. I'm not sure where he is, probably in a mountain somewhere, but hey, he was one of the greats.
What a driver. Incredible set of hands. One of the all-time greats in the sport. And again, he would I remember he would say he'd just rely on his instincts, and I don't think there was a better example of that than what a lot of people thought was the race of the decade with Some Beach Somewhere and Art Official. The only driver in the sport, I'm confident no other driver would have had the audacity to do what he did that night with Art Official. Ended up being the winning move by parking Some Beach Somewhere with a horse that on paper looked like he was 5 lengths inferior to Some Beach Somewhere, but he did it. And he just knew, he could feel it in the horse that night. It was the right thing to do. Ends up being the winning move and one of the great races of all time. So, yep, shout out to Ronnie Pierce if he's got internet access wherever he is. A unique character in sport, one of the greatest drivers certainly of all time. So, I did not know that, guys. Thanks for the little anecdote on the name.
There we go. Now a 12-year-old. It makes sense.
When you bring Tony Elliott to the show, that's what you get.
I try to come prepared. Even short notice, I try to bring a
Well, you did
insight.
notice the mare. It is Passionate Clyde.
Well, it kind of gave it away, but I didn't want to. I kind of wanted to kind of hype myself up for
just
knowing
trying to see if you'd get that one there, and still stays as our current favorite at 6-5. So maybe this is the one Brett McDonald can get his first win of the competition. And just looking at the betting board, and number 6, Taxico Man, is the other one drawing some support, and James McDonald would like to probably push himself back ahead because all of a sudden he's got some company in Louis Watt.
All right, just a couple of moments remaining here as the Trotters assemble in front of the grandstand. We'll have the start of race number 9 coming up momentarily. Let's go back over to colleague John Rallis for his final thoughts here. John, does this race go through the 1, Pierce Wave Hanover?
All right, this is a pretty wide open race. Pretty wide open race that we have here as well, but we can see that the current favorite right now is the 1, Pierce Wave Hanover. This was my top pick in this race. I really like the fact that he drew the rail. I know Brett really liked this guy going into the race, and obviously when he saw the pole position that he got to draw, I think that he really liked his chances even more because of that. But obviously Brett hasn't got on the board yet. He almost got there with Del Diggity. Boy, did she ever race so tough in defeat, but he's got a great chance to get on the board here with Pierceway Hanover, and the bettors seem to think so as well. Texaco Man, pretty interesting here though, guys, right? A horse that's pretty familiar racing over here, racing at the big track at Mohawk. You know, this is a horse who's going to be coming off the pace, but he's going to need a little bit of speed to chase, though. If we do see some horses maybe vying for some early positioning, and with certain guys maybe wanting to be a bit more aggressive, he could really benefit from that. But I think Brett McDonald, he's going to take advantage of the rail draw. We know that this horse likes to have some early gate speed, and the last time he drew the rail, he was a gate-to-wire winner, so I think that Brett McDonald's going to do everything he can to make sure that everybody's sitting behind him here.
Thank you, John. Just moments away now from the start, guys. Maybe we'll go around the horn here. Mark, who do you like in the spot?
I'm going to maybe take a bit of a flyer here and try number 2, Junior, who just missed last time out, got picked off, got tired late in that mile after doing it on the front, but has enough ability to get off the gate and get into position. And I think, as John mentioned, Pierceway Hanover is going to do the exact same thing. Just needs to be up close. And I touted it a little bit earlier, Travis Cullen's ability to get so much out of horses, and another driver who is looking to make some noise at some point in this competition. So maybe it could be here, just a familiar horse and one that, again, has kind of raced a little better in recent starts, and look for that to continue going forward. Tyler Borth drove last time out, got along real well, and I think Travis will be able to get something going here as well. 15-1. Let's just try and take a bit of a flyer.
Yeah, I hate to piggyback on you again, Marky, but I think it goes through 1-2 here. Obviously, Junior tends to get brave on the front end, and that could be the case here. But obviously, I think Pierceway Hanover is probably the one to beat.
Playful Elegance is my long shot play here at 12-1. Starts right in the middle of the gate for Bob McClure, who's kind of heating up as well late in the competition. 3 more remaining trotters for the ninth, and once again, here's Sugar Doyle.
Texaco Man, muscles aplenty, back to your spot for Peter Crown, picking up speed. Here they come. It's the Ontario Regional Driving Championship, Race 9. They're off. Tyler Moore sending a big-time long shot. Muscles aplenty, right off the car. It's a killer crossover for a 50-1. Longest shot on the board, and Borth, they're in control here in the early going. Lion's Wish pockets up in second. That one for Louis Philippois. A gapped off third, Junior. Travis Cullen, fourth best away. Pierceway Hanover. Brett McDonald, Playful Elegance. Bob McClure sitting fifth. Traveling in sixth, we've got Peter Crown and Travis Henry. Whole nother, Garrett Rooney. And the closer, Texaco Man, James McDonald, would have to come from last. 28-2 for this longest shot on the board leader, and Borth with muscles aplenty. Again, they're 50-1, and they're leading on this half-mile approach. Lion's Wish stayed in second. For Waugh, a move uncovered third. Junior and Cullen, a toe up for McDonald. Brett McDonald and Pierceway Hanover. Fifth and in for Playful Elegance McClure. Setting it up third over Whole Nother for Rooney. The Bear Reed 7. Peter Crown. Travis Henry underway from last. Texaco Man. James McDonald with a huge hill to climb. Backside. Final time. Muscles aplenty. Still showing the way. Junior up and out on the outside. 3 deep. There goes Pierceway Hanover. Circling up for Brett McDonald after 3/4. 128-2. Pierceway Hanover gets a little steppy. Trying to keep them together. Brett McDonald. And he's doing it. Doing it well so far. Muscles aplenty clinging to the lead. Here comes a straightaway for Pierceway Hanover, who might get along a whole lot better here in the late going. There it is, Pierceway Hanover on the straightaway. Much better gated. He's home and cooled for Brett McDonald. On for second, Playful Elegance, Bob McClure. Louis Philippois takes third aboard Lion's Wish. Tyler Moore stayed on with muscles aplenty to finish fourth.
Well, got a little dicey there in the final turn for Pierceway Hanover, but once that one got into the straightaway, as track announcer Shannon Sugar Doyle mentioned, it was smooth sailing and able to march on to the victory. Nice job by driver Brett McDonald keeping this one together, and then to get it home, wins it by about a length, getting ahead there of Playful Elegance as Bob McClure grabs a second. He's right in the hunt, as we mentioned. He needs the points. He's not in the final race of the competition. Louis Waugh gets the third. He was tied for second going into this race. And Tyler Borth, what about the aggressive approach here? You mentioned that he had to just continue to drive smart. This was a smart drive. He put one that was a mega long shot in play, launched it from the outside, and while it's not going to get the major share, he gets a fourth. He'll get a few points for one that looked like a bit of a toss from post position number 7. So lots going on there, but the favorite does deliver and was definitely the best in this race. Had to make that 3-wide move and then got things done.
Yeah, no, it obviously just had to get out of the turn there and once straightened out, Pierce Wave Hanover. The pedigree obviously kicked in. Brett probably could have did the wave, but probably wouldn't have gone over too well in the driver's room after. But no, it was obviously the best in here. And like you said, Tyler Borth, leaving out of post 7, you have to be pretty brave to do that tonight. There's not too many friends out there on the track, and he hangs on for a fourth, which, like you mentioned, the consistency is crucial in the later part of this competition.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking, I don't think I would have expected Muscles Aplenty to do that, and maybe that was the whole idea by Tyler Borth, was just try to surprise them. So he's having a fantastic night so far. And he's going to get himself a few more points, should stay at the top of the standings. But it's Pierce Wave Hanover who gets the job done, as the 12-year-old has now won 3 of his last 4 and is just racing really well right now here in London, Greg. And again, now 4 for 8 on the season. Last year only raced 5 times. Never got to the winner's circle, never had a top 3 finish, but is really in top form. And again, even in some dicey moments, just had to get the job done.
Yeah, Team Leon clicking here. Andrea Leon from Maidstown. Bill Leon Jr. does the training. They're staples racing here all season long at the Raceway, and Pierce Wave Hanover, certainly one of the horses that is responsible for the hefty training average. Bill Leon Jr. having a great meet, and this guy certainly had to make Brett happy when he saw the final draw come out here with Pierce Wave and getting post number 1 in this particular spot. And as you mentioned, he's got a chance to build up a little steam here over the last 3. He'll still have some ground to make up, but he's got a big shot with Matt's Tuition in the next. And then in the finale, he'll have a trailing post with So Strange, a horse that hasn't won this year, but kind of knocking at the door, and the type that if anything goes a little kamikaze, if you will, in that last race, that could surprise. So, Brett's got himself in position here. He gives himself a chance, but Tyler Borth remains ultra consistent. He's maximizing his results, and I think that's the term we used at the beginning of the night.
And that was the first pick in this race, was Pierce Wave Hanover. So this was Brett McDonald's turn to have the first pick. Took this one and drew the rail. Interesting enough, there was only 2 races tonight where the driver that had the first pick then saw his horse land that rail starting spot. The other one's going to come up in race number 11 when Trevor Henry will have that rail starting spot. So we'll see if that one can click as well. Talk about cashing in once again, which I talked about was so important in the draft.
And then there were two races left to go here on this very entertaining evening so far. The Ontario Regional Driving Championship. It continues from the Raceway.
The London Classic Yearling Sale, Canada's premier standardbred auction, returns October 15th and 16th to the Western Fair District Agriplex. Recent London sales standouts include O'Brien Award winners and millionaire performers, Logan Park, Fashion Frenzy, and Stockade Sealster. Leading North American consigners and yearlings by the sport's top sires, all under one roof in a world-class facility. Find your next champion at the London Classic Yearling Sale. Find out more by visiting londonclassic.ca.
Harness Racing Update features the sport's most talented and provocative lineup of writers. Garnet Barnsdale, Dave Briggs, Murray Brown, Frank Ottolo, Ron Gerfine, and Thomas Hedlund, as well as Bill Heller, Bob Hayden, Dean Hoffman, Victoria Howard, Chris Lomon, and David Mattia, and also James Platts, Bob Roberts, Sandra Snyder, Brett Sturman, Jay Wolf, and many more. See what everyone is talking about. Subscribe to HRU today for free at harnessracingupdate.com.
As the industry's leading sales agency, Preferred Equine's new online sales portal, Preferred Equine Online, offers the best online service available. Developed by our experienced sales team, the powerful new platform with cutting-edge technology makes buying and selling easy from the comfort of your home or office over any device. Our experienced sales team offers full customer service for buyers and sellers as it relates to the collection, distribution, and transfer of the horses offered. Sellers can enter a horse as easily as 1, 2, 3 with a searchable database while allowing comments, photos, and other documents. Buyers can view live pedigrees, past performances, and race videos. To view the sales schedule, create your account, or learn more, visit www.preferredequineonline.com or call our sales team at 914-773-7777.
A look at the odds board here with a little over 7 minutes to go before race number 10, as we have 2 more left to go in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. Again, the first of 4 regional championships. They'll be in Western Canada, the Eastern Ontario, Quebec Regional, of course, Atlantic Canada, with the top 2 from each of those qualifying for the national final this July in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. And I know the folks there are very excited to host that this year, and they will, I'm sure, put on a wonderful show there. So tonight we are trying to determine the first 2 of those finalists out of Ontario, and it's been quite a showdown so far. Maybe a bit of a coming-out party here, if you will, for Tyler Borth, who had that breakout year last year. Couldn't be driving with any more confidence. I think it's showing here tonight in spades, and he's got himself poised, certainly for a top 2 spot, and maybe even the overall win here this evening. Just while we have a moment, we're seeing some ads there, and it's a fun time of year. Entries starting to come in for the annual yearling sales. And Mark, you're the head pedigree reader at our London Classic yearling sale this year, and I know entries closed, and real exciting because we're going to see the first Bulldog Hanovers sell this fall. And I think we've got about 9 or 10 total selling here in London. So I'm sure you guys share the excitement of the entire racing world to see those horses go through the ring.
Yeah, it is exciting, and it's kind of cool that we didn't have to wait too long after his racing career ended, because he was kind of pulling double duty there in his final season on the track. And they'll come out this fall. I love that time of the year. I know it's really hectic if you actually think about everything that's going on the track, and then you mix in sales season, but really there's nothing better. There's a lot of excitement in the air, and the planning, and you can attest to this, has to go on for several months leading up. And if the last 2 years are any indication, I'd have to think, and maybe you can chime in on this, but I'd have to think year number 3 of the London Classic probably going to take even another step forward.
I would think when looking at his group this year, I think he had 53 foals, which was interesting. It was just like a test crop in essence. Those who bred to him got a discounted rate for doing so, and now it's like kind of sitting on a lottery ticket, I think, for some of these folks. So they're going to be sprinkled throughout sales around North America. I'm sure some will be retaining the horses to race themselves, and it'll be interesting because it's a wide variety of mares from all different jurisdictions, and then we can only just speculate what we're going to see next year, because the crop of mares he bred this past year is incredible. You guys probably saw online the foal from I think Lion Sentinel. What a mating that is.
Yeah,
and that's just the tip of the iceberg from what I hear.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that like the Bulldog Hanover's first book, like you mentioned, like a smaller crop, almost like a test crop with some of the lucky people that were able to get in on him before he kind of made it big with the world record and fastest mile ever. But they said it could be the best group of mares that's ever been put together for Bulldog Hanover, which obviously you're not surprised based on what he did on the racetrack, but you can only dream of what those offspring could produce and what they could do in the future.
Yeah, I'll really look forward to it. Those first crops usually get a ton of hype, and coming out on the track this year, south of the border, you'll see Tall Dark Strangers. You'll also see some Poppy Rob Hanovers. But again, there's always that excitement when you get something new, some new blood, and Bulldog Hanover, I think, if you, like you said, if you've got one of those horses and you're selling it this fall, you're going to have a big opportunity, I think, to get rewarded. And I think maybe the biggest question at this time of the year, at least in the month of April and May, is the Bulldog Brew coming back for Camelot Classic?
Absolutely.
All right.
We still have it. Our fish and chips batter here, which is renowned in London, the secret ingredient is Bulldog Brew. So,
Really?
yeah, if anyone's down here, the food truck, by the way, it's open out on the patio. It'll be open every Friday night, and I'm getting word from the truck. The guys tried that this evening, and they concur.
Rave reviews.
It's as good as you're going to get in London. So anybody that's coming out to the raceway over the next few weeks, make sure to try the fish and chips. I stand by it. Another exciting stallion that we have a lot of that'll be selling this fall's Cattle Wash. Another one that's, this will be the first sort of full crop selling here in Ontario this year. And then you look ahead, you can't help but get excited about King of the North will be coming the year after that. Beach Glass, a new recruit for Winback, talking to Pat Woods, and early reports on his fertility testing have been great. So, exciting times for sure. So, looking forward to that, and of course, looking forward to the babies. This year's crop hitting the racetrack too. Not sure if you guys have been getting any reports. Anybody watching online tonight, if you've got some early reports on maybe some of those first crop stallions and how the horses are training down, drop us a line. Fun time of year. Babies getting set to come out not too far down the road, but before that, a lot of good 3-year-olds and older that are re-emerging as well for stake season. Here is a look at the current standings. Tyler Borth continues to lead, 59 points. Louis-Philippe Bois has now solidified that second spot. Bob McClure, James McDonald, a bit of pressure on King James here. He's got to put up a couple of good results late in the competition, and there's Brett McDonald. So Brett has really given himself a good mathematical opportunity with that win, following up on a second-place finish the race prior to that. 2 more to go here. We're going to meet the field in just a moment. Quick look at the odds board here, guys, and a good betting board, an interesting board. James favorite, but has the trailing tier, so he's going to have to do a little bit of stick handling, and we know, Tony, quite well that post 8 here it can be tricky. You're at the mercy of what others do.
Yeah, it obviously is pretty tough, and it's obviously going into a tight first turn. It makes it that much more difficult. But if anybody can navigate, obviously James is more than capable. I actually like the one in here, like especially the current price 9-1. I think it's quite the overlay on Township Willie. Obviously going back to the hometown folks at the John Kennedy stables, he always brings them out ready to roll, and it's certainly some post relief here is certainly going to help the cause.
Yeah, and just looking at some of the numbers, even the post position stats, which usually they don't lie, and I always like to reference the post position stats at Woodbine Mohawk Park. The fact that not many people really realize that post 6 almost every year is the winningest post position. You might wonder how that second tier does. 10% on the pace this year here in London, 24 for 227 coming into tonight's action. So you get winners from there. The rail's winning at 18%, but I think that looks pretty healthy when you look across the board at those percentages that horses are winning from all over, because lowest is post 7, as you're not surprised, but even post 6 wins at almost 10%. So pretty even, and that's what you want to see.
Mm-hmm. But as always, post 1 on a half-mile track, if you've certainly got the best horse or one of the best horses, can be a big weapon, and that belongs to Township Willie in this spot. Just had a look at that one, making his way to the track. What a difference a year makes. He was a 10-time winner last year and 37 trips postward, winless in 9 this season. Good off-the-pace effort, though, in his last start. Major post relief this time. Post 6 in each of the last 2. You go 3 back. This guy had the rail on that occasion and was a very good second. So I think Bob McClure, a real good opportunity here as he is in the mix. So 2 races to go here, guys. Going to put you on the spot a little bit. Obviously Tyler leading, but who do you think the top 2 are going to be after these next 2 races? We'll ask the same question to our viewers online. Let us know what you think.
Well, I'll go ahead here, Tony, if you want. I'll take a first crack at this. And I think you just have to look at what the lineups are. And for Bob McClure, this is his last race. He's not in race number 11. So he has to pretty much hit a home run here, I'd have to think, if he wants to finish in the top 2. Louis Waugh currently in second at 48 points. And it's 5 down to Bob at 43 and 6 back to James at 42. James is the favorite here, but then you look in race number 11, and I think he's going to need a lot of help there, post 7, with what should be a long shot in the final race. So he's got one good race in him, so that leaves me with Louis Waugh, and I have to think he's got the 2 horse here, Mac the Knife, who consistently gets checks. Doesn't win, but always seems to be right there. Should probably be right there again, and then you flip the page to the final race, and TJ Spitfire will be post position number 3. Probably would be a bit of a surprise. So I just think, though, this is maybe going to be Louis' chance to edge ahead here in race number 10 and kind of leave it maybe sealed, but we'll wait and see. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I definitely think Tyler Borth is going to be able to close this out. Obviously,
yes.
Post 4 here, Maximus Power, and then obviously in the last Master Fencer draws post position 2, like maybe not the best horse in the race on paper, but I mean draws close to the inside, and that obviously Tyler Borth has shown any place on the track tonight he's more than capable of getting them in positions to pick up some points. And then I think second could be Brett McDonald. I know he's far down the leaderboard here, but Brett's just kind of heating up here. Like I said, he won the last race pretty handily, and then Matt picks up Matt's tuition here. Could go off close to post-time favor. Obviously, James is linking up with a high percentage barn here, so it's taking quite a bit of money. But I think Brett could make a big splash in the last 2 races here, obviously with some good stock remaining.
One thing we are not is professional drivers, no. but let's pretend we are here. So let's kind of speculate what our strategy would be. If you're Tyler Borth, you're leading. You've got a little bit of a cushion there, but some guys within range. A couple of horses here that aren't likely to be favorites. So you're going to have to do have a bit of strategy in how you want to approach it here. So do you kind of go conservative and just not overuse them, or do you go aggressive and say, you know what, we're still trying to go out there and win with these horses?
I know it probably sounds cliche, but you just kind of keep things going the way they have, right? I mean, why change what's worked so far? And even what we saw in the previous race where he fired one a long shot from the outside, he got a fourth. Is he getting a fourth if he goes to the back with that horse? No. Hard to say, but I don't think so. So I think for Tyler, if the game plan here appears to be that you need to be aggressive, I think you stick with it. I don't think there's really any need to be conservative. You put yourself in a good position, and you just need to get a few more points to solidify one of those top 2 positions.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. Like, one of my good buddies always say aggression wins horse races, and aggression wins driving competitions too. So I don't think going to the back and kind of floating up for a 5th or a 4th is really in Tyler's playbook right now. Like, I think if he's got any stock and he's got his nose in the gate like he does here, there's only one place he's going to be looking off the gate.
All right. Hope I didn't offend you with the, we're not drivers comment.
I just wouldn't make the weight, I don't think.
Well, Tony, I was going to say he's got more of a jockey's physique than a driver anyway. But, and I think I'd be somewhere in between, Mark. I know exactly what you're saying, and I am a firm believer in that saying. If it's not broke, don't fix it for sure. But if I was going to maybe tend to be just lean a little bit on, you don't want to overdrive a horse too, and maybe cost yourself by a point or 2 at the end. But we'll leave that up to Tyler Borth. A very, very heady driver, and again, he's so confident. He just doesn't seem to be making any wrong moves right now, and looks like he's in good position going into the last 2. There's a look at his prospect here. Maximus Power looks good pre-race here at 5-1. John Rallis, let's get to your final thoughts here with 2 races to go.
Yeah, we're getting into crunch time, fellas, and this is a really, really tight group. Obviously, Tyler Borth separating himself as the sole leader, but again, top 2 advance, and right now we've got a pretty tight-knit bunch between Louis and James, who are only separated by a few points. And what's really interesting about this race, guys, is that Ryan Klein, this was James McDonald's top pick in this race, and he did draw the second tier. Now, I know a lot of people typically aren't fans of the second tier, but I think the second tier doesn't really hurt this 10-year-old son of Vintage Master that much, because he's a horse that typically likes to race him off a helmet, and worth noting, he got the job done last time out, despite the second tier. He wasn't my top pick in this race. Actually, I did go with Matt's tuition. I talked about it earlier. I know he was 2-1 on the morning line, guys, but I still figured that this guy would be a bit of a value player. I was pretty confident that a couple of the inside horses and a horse like Ryan and Klein would take some betting support. So I think that Matt's tuition, I think if maybe Brett can get him out to the lead where he likes to be, I think he gets really, really brave out there on the front. I don't really see a horse like Mock the Knife pushing out for early positioning. I don't think he's the quickest horse off the gate. We've seen inside draws from him in the past, and just hasn't really been able to get into the mix that early. But we do have a new set of hands, and maybe Louis might feel inclined to try and get this guy a little bit motivated off the gate, given how tight the standings are. But I didn't anticipate Township really taking as much betting support maybe as he did, or even a horse like Maximus Power. Definitely interested to see how they race. But Matt's tuition at 9-2 for a horse that likes the front and gets pretty brave. If he can get there, I love the value. I love the value, guys.
Well, I think there's some good points that John makes in the spot, and as we've been talking here, the odds boards leveled up a little bit. Ryan Klein now up to 8-5, others getting support. Tyler, 3-1 on Maximus Power, and you've seen that one going down a little bit as we near post time. But I think that is the hot driver effect at this point in the card.
I think it is for sure, but again, here's a horse that hasn't had many top results in those last 3, but Tyler drove him to his last win. So the familiarity, that had to be a huge factor. I'm still going to stick with number 2, Mac the Knife, and I agree with what John said. He doesn't have a lot of gate speed, but hoping there's enough speed up front. And we saw Louis kind of knife his way, no pun intended, through a few times to have some success. So I'll look for the 2, Mac the Knife. What about you, Tony?
I'm going to go the number 1, Township Willie. Obviously, I highlighted his kind of key points earlier, but just the post relief is certainly going to be a huge factor here.
Debut, and with a claim entered, Ryan Klein from the back tier spot into the stretch. Claiming pacers, pick up speed. Here they come. They're off. Slow gets for the inside 2 in here. It's going to be Matt's Tuition to take them on out of there. Maximus Power is going to secure a 2-hole ride. So Brett McDonald leads. Matt's Tuition pocketing up second. Maximus Power, Totterborth, settle down into third. Dark moves. Travis Cullen then getting away in the 4th spot. That is Mac the Knife. Louis Villepoix. Slow beginning there for the rail starter. Township Willie, McClure, they're sitting 5th. Traveling 6th, Ryan Klein, James McDonald, Twinbee Fearless, Garrett Rooney, Teddy Hedover, Trevor Henry, trails. 28-4, single file, bending around turn number 2. Matt's Tuition at 5-1, just coasting through 3/8 completion here. Maximus Power for the trip. Dark moves, stayed in from 3rd, going first up now with a lap to go. Here's Louis Villepoix sending Mac the Knife to go first up and attack in a big way. Mac the Knife with a big grandstand side push. By the half, 59-4, and a third quarter tilt brewing between Brett McDonald and Louis Villepoix. Here it is, Matt's Tuition versus Mac the Knife up the backside. Maximus Power up close to be 3rd for Borth. 4th and wide, Township Willie and McClure saving ground and moving up to be 5th now. Dark moves, Travis Cullen setting it up 3rd over the closer, Ryan Klein, James McDonald. 128-1 for 3 quarters. Final turn action in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. They're going to fan 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 wide as they make the swing. Along the inside, Matt's Tuition, Brett McDonald clinging to the lead. Here's Township Willie, Bob McClure, Ryan Klein, King James on the grandstand side. Township Willie, maybe by a shade of a nose. Second best, Ryan Klein, James McDonald, pace setter, Brett McDonald. Matt's Tuition was 3rd, 158-4.
And oh boy, in that final quarter, so much changed. It looked like the horses up near the front were going to be the main factors, but turning for home, you could see the backfield start to come to life, and it's a 1-2 finish here for McClure and McDonald. We're not sure in what order, though. The photo finish sign will decide it. Maybe a better angle here from the low pan shot. Either way, that is going to throw a wrinkle into our standings heading into the final leg. I think it's going to make it pretty wide open for 3 or 4 guys to potentially win this thing now. Really interesting result. We thought as soon as the gate left, we all sort of commented that Tyler Borth landing in the 2-hole quickly. He was going to be probably 1st or 2nd in there, but race just kind of didn't unfold like we thought it was going to.
No, it didn't, and Louis Watt came out of 4th coming to the half and came first up to attack. And I almost wonder if he thought when he got Mac the Knife going there that he might just go right around. Obviously, Matt's Tuition responded, and Matt's Tuition fought really tough there to hold on to 3rd, but that kind of changed the complexion of the race, and that allowed those others to get into it. And then look, Ryan Klein coming from about 3rd over, ends up getting the job done, wins it by just a whisker to get the victory, and it's set up for him to come from the back. And early in the race, I didn't think much was going to change up front. I thought those two were really just the live ones that might be able to go all the way. I was a little perplexed, but you understand it. Louis Watt needs the points just like everybody else. He thought maybe that was his best move. His horse has done a good job coming into races late, and he just put it in play, and that's what it got. We got a good, exciting race and a great finish.
There's a look at the winner coming back, and it is King James. It feels like a while between victories, and we were kind of wondering. He fell back to 4th position there, and it was really imperative that he get a good result here. And it is the veteran Rye and Klein, and that's what horses like this do. You just you give them the right trip, and they'll do the rest. And James is certainly one of the best, if not the best, in Canada at that.
Yeah, whenever you're in a photo finish with James, you just assume that he probably got there. And obviously I picked the 1, so I was a little disappointed that James reached up, but it certainly makes the competition exciting. That's what we're certainly here for.
And I'm just looking at the way that race unfolds, and you kind of see what you were mentioning, Greg, the fact if you're in those positions where you need the points, if you're close up, are you staying aggressive, are you playing it conservative? And I think a few of the drivers played it the way they thought was the best, and Tyler Borth got into the 2-hole. You thought that might develop all right. James McDonald, he had the second tier. He had to figure things out, but he didn't overdrive, right? Like, it still worked out for him, even though he really desperately needed those points. He came into this race sitting 4th at 42 points, 17 points back of leader Tyler Borth. So he gets 15 here. He's not going to go past to the top, but he'll put himself into 2nd, I do believe. We'll get the updated standings in a bit, and man, oh man, it sets up for what will be a great finish, because I think we're going to have about 4 guys in the hunt.
And you make a great point. You're right. No matter what the circumstances or where you are in the standings, it's imperative to drive the way you drive, right? Do what's made you successful, and that's what James did. He didn't press too hard. He didn't squeeze the stick too hard, if you will, to use the hockey player analogy, and got the job done. And for Tyler Borth there, you'd have to be disappointed. I'm sure at the 8th pole he's feeling kind of the same way that we thought it was unfolding, that, wow, I'm automatically going to work out a great trip here, and this should be the result that ensures I'm going through. And now maybe a little bit of work to do. So we're going to try our best to get those updated standings for you, because as far as I can tell, there's been some shift now, and I think mathematically we're going to see probably 3 or maybe even 4 guys with an opportunity to win going into the last leg.
Yeah, and that's what makes it exciting too. Obviously, it seems like every time there's a driving competition here, either it's the Holiday Drivers Challenge or one of these regional events here, or just everyday night, it just comes down to the last race always. There's never seems to be a big gap in the standings or anything like that. So we're certainly excited to see the last race here.
And tough for Bob McClure, right? I mean, that was his last drive.
Just going to say.
And he just gets beat out. I mean, couldn't have done it any better. It was a perfect drive, and you get beat a whisker. His last chance he needed to get the victory there if he wanted to get one of the top 2 spots.
Would love to have had fate in his own hands now in the last race, right? So we'll see. We'll see if he's mathematically got any opportunity or not. Probably going to be difficult for him, because others will have that chance to add on some key points in here. But James, with that win, I would think likely right back in near the top of the standings. And speaking of that, he's standing by now with John Rollins.
All good.
All right, James, just kind of take us through that trip here. Obviously, it was your first overall pick. You drew the 2nd tier. What were your thoughts turning for home?
Turning for home, I had a good hold of him, and he was trying, and they'd raced a lot in the 3rd quarter, so I was hoping when I popped him, he'd just give me a little punch. I saw Bob's was still going good, and yeah, it was a great finish. It's
a pretty tight, for 2nd right now, a pretty tight group. Yep. Were you putting a bit more pressure on yourself going to this race, given this was your first overall pick?
Yeah, absolutely. It was winner, go home. So I needed him to win and bring his A game, and he did. So the rest is up to my last drive. Hopefully I can bang out a few points, and I know it's tight between Louis and I, but either way, I'm just happy. He had a good day. Had a lot of fun. Hopefully I can move on.
And did you think you got there, James?
Hold on. No. Bob asked me at the wire. He said, "Did you get me?" And I said, "I don't know," because usually right at the wire, what you do, most drivers do, is you look at the wheel beside you and see whose wheel's ahead of whose. And I thought his was maybe a hair ahead of mine, but then you look at the horses. My horse was a big, long horse, and his horse was a little smaller. So came out on the right end tonight.
A little different from choosing from entries when you're listed on a few horses, knowing that you had the first pick and you could choose between any. It's always nice knowing you made the right choice, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to waste your first pick and finish 8th.
Thanks a lot, James. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right, great stuff. getting word with James fresh off the race bike there as he comes back through the tunnel after winning in race number 10. The old warhorse, Ryan Klein, career win, number 53 for him. Pretty remarkable. We just heard that, speaking of warhorses, you got an update from out of town?
Yes, Southwind Amazon just picked up another win. Let me confirm the number here.
All right.
132, actually.
Oh, okay. I was
just
trying
failed
to
that
guess.
trivia, Mark.
I was trying to guess where he was at because he did not have a chance.
The all-time
That
record.
the all-time record
I was
for
trying to
wins.
see what the all-time record was, but I didn't get the chance to look that up. But
Yeah, a former Camluck Classic participant, the great Southwind Amazon. So, one more to go. We're saving the best for last. The 11th and final race is coming up next. We'll take another commercial break and be back with the finale of what's been a very entertaining Ontario Driving Championship.
The London Classic Yearling Sale, Canada's premier standardbred auction, returns October 15th and 16th to the Western Fair District Agriplex. Recent London sales standouts include O'Brien Award winners and millionaire performers, Logan Park, Fashion Frenzy, and Stockade Sealster. Leading North American consigners and yearlings by the sport's top sires, all under one roof in a world-class facility. Find your next champion at the London Classic Yearling Sale. Find out more by visiting londonclassic.ca.
For over 25 years, Tara Hill Stud has worked with partners to help produce champion stallions. We are proud to have bred great racehorses like Fade Out, Shower Play, Precious Delight, and There's a Demon in Me. Our stallions, past and present, have had tremendous success while making a huge impact on racing across North America. Mr. Levesque, Mach 3, Cadabra, Muscle Mass, and Precious Bunny, to name a few. Our stallions' progeny have won major events, including the Hambletonian. Tara Hill Stud are currently standing 9 of the industry's top stallions. Alarm Detector, Control the Moment, Danson Lou, Flanagan Memory, Green Manalishi, He's Watching, Muscle Mass, Resolve, and Sports Writer. Our facility is modern, our staff knowledgeable. Consider Tara Hill Stud when choosing a home for your stallion. Tara Hill Stud, where champions stand and champion yearlings are raised. Log on to terrahills.com.
And we welcome you back one more time to the set here at the Raceway at Western Fair District in London, Ontario. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. It's been a long night, but it seems to have flown by. It's been highly entertaining. Again, kudos to the drivers, of course, the horses themselves, and the connections for filling the box for tonight's contest, which has been really entertaining. It's been as contentious as we thought it would be, and the racing's been fantastic. And just the way you would like it, we've got some drama coming into the last leg.
Exactly that, and I think it's probably a little comforting for a few of them to know the top 2 do move on. You don't have to just win this thing to head out, but it's going to be tight, and we'll get a look at the leaderboard very soon, and you'll see right there, it's all up for grabs coming into the final race. And again, the only driver that unfortunately won't have a chance is Bob McClure. It's out of his hands now because he does not have a drive. This is the race that he had to sit out. So I think it answered our question over time. Would you rather have that race off early or late? And unfortunately, if you're out in the last one, really not much else you can do to add to your totals.
All right, a gentleman that's been a multiple leading driver here over the years, a past winner of our signature race, which was then known as the Molson Pace, is Trevor Henry, and he is standing by now with John.
All right, guys, and Trevor, mathematically, unfortunately, you are eliminated from this tournament going into the finale, but just wanted to ask you about your experience as a whole this evening.
Oh, it was great. You know, a lot of young drivers coming up, and it was a fun night.
You know, you do have the rail horse here, St. Lad's Mischief, you know, a top selection for many here going into this finale. Does it mean a lot to you to maybe play the role of spoiler here?
Well, sure, you'd like to win one on the night. You know, I got the rail, and yeah, I'd like to win one.
Just talk about maybe that drive that you had earlier on the night, bridle adjustment, you went to the lead. How did he feel out there?
He was maybe revved up too much. You know, he got away on me. We were at the half in 59, you know, it was too much. And he still raced good. He got a check, but I think bridle change and that, he was over-revved.
Have you been keeping up with the score of the Lightning game at all tonight, or?
I saw last it was 2-1 Florida.
Oh, that's no good, Trevor.
No.
I mean, hopefully you can close this out with a win, and hopefully the goals can keep coming for the Lightning. Thanks a lot.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, nice to hear from Trevor Henry, again, the longtime kingpin here. And now a force in the Woodbine Mohawk Park circuit. And yeah, he'll be as hungry to win this last race, even though mathematically he's not going to get a crack at going to the national final. He has in the past competed in the national championship, and St. Lad's Mischief looks like a big player here. In fact, your even money choice coming in. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun here, guys, in the finale. And maybe just before we meet the field, your overall thoughts on the night. Did it meet the expectations you had coming in?
I'll let you go here first, Tony, if you want, because I probably know our answers are going to be pretty similar here.
Yeah, I don't think there's been a bad race yet. Like, I think everything's been super competitive, and obviously it looks like they'll be separated by a few points coming out of the last race here. Obviously, waiting to get the official standings coming up, but it's been great. Like, the racing's been as what you'd expect and what you would want, and I think it's made it very exciting.
Yeah, and it's exactly how I feel. Right, this is what we wanted. We wanted to come down to the last race, give us a little drama. That's the best thing about sports. I always say it's the best reality show, and that's what we're going to get here in the finale. And then one of the guys right in the hunt, I think, is Louis Waugh, and he is standing by with John Rallis.
All right, Louis, last race to go. You're pretty tight in for a top 2 finish to qualify for the NDC. What are your thoughts here not going into this race?
Well, I probably put the worst drive in the tournament in the last one. Going first up hard, I thought I could clear going at the half. Brett's horse was kind of sleeping on the front. But thinking about it, after I had Bob and James that were following me in points right on my back, I could have just controlled them, kind of coming slowly first up, keeping them out of position a little bit, but it's easier to say after. So I have to redeem myself and kind of forget about it and try to get a lot of points in the last one.
Does the pressure with maybe the final races, coming to a close, does that kind of factor into how soon you move or whatnot? Did that maybe factor into the decision?
I definitely need a lot of points now, so I kind of have to go all in there. So yeah, I'll try. I try to do my best to get first or second there. But
best of luck, Louis.
Thank you. Want that back or?
Yeah, please.
All right, thanks again, John Rallis, hustling in the paddock with those great interviews and getting it right from the mouth of the drivers as they head their way to the racetrack. Getting a bit of a workout too. I know running up that hill after the drivers is tough. So thanks to him and thanks to Louis, and some good commentary there just ahead of this finale where Louis got himself positioned with a good result here to give himself a shot at a ticket to the national championship. Speaking of that, as we head back into the set here, we'll show you what these guys are competing for. Here they are, the gold and the silver ticket to that NDC. That's going to be in Trois-Rivières this July in Quebec. How much fun is that going to be?
That'll be a great time, I'm sure. And we mentioned that the only person who knew they were going for sure was Doug McNair. Going to be 2 other drivers here from Ontario, and whoever gets these tickets, guess what? If you get the silver, it's still worth the same as the gold. And I'm sure that'll be a good time, a good weekend. You have to think way ahead to, I think, in August. The Prix-d'été will also happen at Trois-Rivières. So they've got a big summer coming up to our friends in Quebec as they will be hosting the National Driving Championship. But we just had a peek at the points, and guys, I think for everybody following along, that's what they really just want to know at this point, what needs to happen. And the most points you can get in this race is 15. So we only have 4 guys that are technically in the hunt. Really, it's only 3, unfortunately, for Bob McClure, who's currently 3rd at 53 points. So Tyler Borth, 61, James McDonald, 57, and Louis Waugh at 52. It all comes down to this.
Having said that, Tony, who do you think has the best opportunity of those 3? Which 2?
I think, obviously, James, you can't doubt him from position 7, but obviously I think it's going to be pretty tough, especially, just to overcome this post with this group of horses. They're all very even across the board, but I think Louis-Philippe Waugh may have a shot here. Obviously, position 3, TJ Spitfire, puts up some brave efforts over the last kind of few starts. Last start, it wasn't as great, but then the few starts before that was looked like it could do in here. Obviously 0 for 13 this year. Picks up Louis-Philippe Waugh. Obviously look for slight change in tactic or just a different approach based on a new driver here. So I think Louis could have a big shot.
And yeah, just looking at the standings, I guess we should mention technically Brett McDonald could be in the hunt too, because only those drivers that I mentioned previously could finish first. He's sitting at 45 points, which is 12 back of second at the moment. So 15 could technically get him into that second spot. So there's another one that is in the hunt here in this final one.
And So Strange, the 0 for 11 record obviously is something you don't love to see, but the horse did win 7 times last year. And you never know. The horse's form is still decent, still competitive from time to time, throws in a good race, and sometimes just a different driver up behind him can spur a different result, especially in a race like this where others are liable to do some racing up in front of him, right? And he won't have to do all the heavy lifting, if you will. And generally horses like that, that's the setup they need to win. So we'll see. He's 11-1. A trailing tier might just be ideal, in fact, in this spot for him. Had he had an outside post, for example, probably tough to work his way into the race.
Absolutely. And right now the rail is the favorite, that being Trevor Henry, and this was his first pick. He had the number 1 pick for race number 11, and then he drew the inside. So I talked about that, already cashed in a little bit earlier, 2 races back with Pierce Wave Hanover. And in fact, if Trevor Henry can get his first win of the night here with St. Lad's Mischief, that would be 3 races in a row where the driver that had the first pick in that race did get the victory. So we were kind of talking about that earlier in the night, whether or not that was going to be such a huge factor, but at the end of the night, it kind of ended up being.
We should, while we have a moment, give a tip of the hat to the production crew here for show of the season. Great job by all in town getting everything set up today, getting some wonderful shots and vantage points. We even had the drone out tonight. Fabulous coverage of the race. There's Fraz.
Yes, Fraz.
Alex Frazil, our famous cameraman, trackside, trying to get the bird's eye view here just prior to race time.
Ties together the whole baseball theme from earlier really well, right? Because
absolutely,
Fraz is the man on the field at the Rogers Center. If you're ever down at a game, you can't miss him.
The famous walk-in by Jordan Romano.
Yep.
When he comes into his entry music or closer for the Blue Jays. Well, Fraz is the guy that follows him in with the camera and that wonderful shot that I think went viral last year on social media. Speaking of the drone, there's a shot from up top as they are assembling and getting ready to move in for the finale. What an entertaining evening it has been. And I think we've saved the best for last. We've got a few drivers in contention here, just the way you would like it. One final time, our finale here tonight in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. Shannon Sugar Doyle with the description.
Always a pleasure, Robert. Next Tuesday, here we go. It's the finale of the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. St. Lad's Mischief, Master Fencer, TJ Spitfire, Perfectly Blue, then the Lone Ranger, Highway Vagabond, Ranger Hanover trailing out So Strange into the stretch, and here they come. They're off. It's on. Highway Vagabond with the blasting gate speed. Travis Henry takes them on out of there. Master Fencer for Totterboards. He's going to be up close. Riding a 2-hole in here, TJ Spitfire, Louis Philippois situated third. St. Lad's Mischief, Trevor Henry got away in fourth. So Strange, Brett McDonald travels fifth, gapped off slightly in sixth. Was Perfectly Blue, Travis Henry, backmarkers, the Lone Ranger, Garrett Rooney, Ranger Hanover, James McDonald, loose up front. Highway Vagabond absolutely marching through the opening quarter, 28-2. Travis Henry has him on top by 5 expanding lengths. Second best has been Master Fencer for Borth. TJ Spitfire, the long shot, sitting third for Waugh. Chased up at a fourth. St. Lad's a Mischief for Trevor Henry. Underway to the backfield. Travels Perfectly Blue for Cullen. Then came So Strange, Brett McDonald, the Lone Ranger, and Rooney. James McDonald continues to trail with Ranger Hanover. 58 flat. Try to bottom this field out. Highway Vagabond still maintains a 5-length lead. The Master Fencer, who's all alone in second. TJ Spitfire continues to hold third. Up on the outside, fourth. Travels Perfectly Blue. St. Lad's Mischief, 10 off the lead. Maybe 12 lengths now. He's fifth. Saving ground. So Strange into the final turn. Get this. After 3 quarters, hit me. 126-3. Could this be Highway Vagabond Vagabond going the trip of his life. He's still leading by 4, spinning for home. Travis Henry, Highway Vagabond. The strides are shortening up. He's almost there, though. Highway Vagabond. Yes, indeed. The drop and pop for Team Sumner. Master Fencer and Bohr finishing second. Brett McDonald finishing up in third with So Strange. Then came Perfectly Blue. TJ Spitfire, 157 and 3. Never better. Highway Vagabond.
Well, I'm not sure we would have drew it up like that, but Highway Vagabond and Travis Henry just said good night in the finale as they took off and go all the way. And as Shannon Sugar Doyle said, they bottom out this field to take the finale. Tyler Borth is going to get the 2 spot there as he's going to finish second. Brett McDonald shooting up the inside with So Strange was third. So those are going to be some very crucial points for both of those drivers as they try to get themselves into that top 2. We'll have to wait on the officials' results to figure things out, but Travis Henry gets a victory, and he will take that. It's not going to end up being the night that he had hoped, but he did get to the winner's circle.
Yeah, he certainly did in impressive fashion, too, with a lifetime best by just over a second. So obviously, like Sugar said, trip of a lifetime there, and Travis just put him on the front and improved from there.
So Tyler Borth finished in second. He had 61 points. He was in first. That's going to get him 10 points, which means he finishes with 71, and nobody's going to get to 71. So that means Tyler Borth is for sure going to make it through. Now, we didn't see where James McDonald crossed the wire, was trying to tell where he was. There are points awarded all the way through. Finishing third was Brett McDonald, was So Strange. So he gets 7 more points. That got him up to 52, and it's not going to be enough to get into the top 2. James McDonald, we, again, just have to figure out where he was. Louis Waugh, I believe, did finish in 5th. 5th would get him 4 points. So Louis would get up to 56. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think James McDonald is going to be able to hold on as he had 57 points coming into the race. So we will await the official results just to find out exactly who our top 2 are. We know Tyler Borth has definitely moved on, and I think it is looking like James McDonald did hold on to second to advance to the National Driving Championship. But hey, smiles all around the winner's circle for the connections of Highway Vagabond. Doesn't matter for Travis Henry at this point. He'll take this victory and enjoy it.
Yeah, and this is a big family event. Obviously, all the drivers' families are out to support them. We've seen that throughout the night in the winner's circle. It's a big event, and it's something that obviously Ontario Racing and the national and the world is very proud of. So it's great for the families to come out and support it. It's been a great crowd on the track.
And I talked about it a little bit earlier, Tony, before you joined us, that this is kind of like an all-star game, so to speak. Whichever drivers go from Ontario typically do perform very well at the National Driving Championship. You know, some might say there should be a few more that make it through from Ontario. This is where the top circuit is, and these guys put on a good show tonight. It shows that any one of these drivers would be a great representative. 2 of them are going to move on, Tyler Borth being one of them for sure, to go to Trois Rivières in July. As we take a look at the results from our final race here tonight, nice little return, and you didn't really have to sweat it. Even in the stretch, got a little tired, but they weren't getting to Highway Vagabond.
No, he went a huge trip, and there's lots of prices underneath. I think 970 was second or third choice in there, so obviously wasn't a huge surprise that this horse won, but everyone fighting for those crucial points underneath certainly provide some good prices for the horse players as well, with the 20-cent high five returning $807, so that's a nice little payout. Pays for the gas on the way home.
Definitely does. Did you have it?
No, I didn't.
All right,
so no.
well, we'll figure that out.
I would have, but I just forgot to punch it, you know.
All
you know
right.
how that goes.
We'll have to figure it out. We'll make sure we do get home safe and sound, as will everybody else. But before we can head on home, we do have to get some post-race reaction. We will go down to that very shortly. As you can see, we lost a man. Greg Blanchard has gone down trackside as he's going to help with the post-race presentations to our top 2 drivers, which those tickets we had on display a few moments ago will be presented, sending them to Quebec this coming July. And just makes for another fierce competition the next time around in the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. You look at Tyler Borth, and I know you were here that night a few years back. He didn't have a chance to be in this competition the last time around. He's really catapulted his career, and now his first time in it, he's going to get the job done. And man, oh man, it just continues to be like sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah, I've been lucky to kind of follow his path to the top here, and obviously I'm a big fan, and it's crazy over the stretch of the competition. If you kind of ask, like, who would you kind of like pick to be in the top two, like not even based on lineups, you'd probably say Tyler Borth, James McDonald. So it all the races that went on, everything that went on, it looks like it's Tyler Borth and James McDonald, which is it's just a testament to their ability and the drivers that they are.
Yeah, so at minimum in that race, just taking a look once again at the standings board, if you finished even last in the race, you were going to be guaranteed to get a point. So again, it looks like James McDonald would have got himself up to 58, and it looks like he will get in. But we'll have that confirmation in just a moment. When we come back, we'll wrap things up and we'll have our presentation as we take one final timeout here tonight on Cosa-Tv.
The London Classic Yearling Sale, Canada's premier standardbred auction, returns October 15th and 16th to the Western Fair District Agriplex. Recent London sales standouts include O'Brien Award winners and millionaire performers, Logan Park, Fashion Frenzy, and Stockade Sealster. Leading North American consigners and yearlings by the sport's top sires, all under one roof in a world-class facility. Find your next champion at the London Classic Yearling Sale. Find out more by visiting londonclassic.ca.
Enjoy the thrill of the race anywhere, anytime with HPIBet.com. Join for free and use your smartphone, tablet, or PC to watch and wager when you can't be at the track. Stream live racing from over 450 tracks. Bet with ease from anywhere. It's safe and secure. Get rewards, race alerts, tips, and more. For a limited time, get $100 when you become a member. Plus, 1 month free live race streaming, and your first bet is on us. Go to HPIBet.com to join for free today.
Harness Racing Update features the sport's most talented and provocative lineup of writers. Garnet Barnsdale, Dave Briggs, Murray Brown, Frank Ottolo, Ron Gerfine, and Thomas Hedlund, as well as Bill Heller, Bob Hayden, Dean Hoffman, Victoria Howard, Chris Lomon, and David Mattia, and also James Platts, Bob Roberts, Sandra Snyder, Brett Sturman, Jay Wolf, and many more. See what everyone is talking about. Subscribe to HRU today for free at harnessracingupdate.com.
As the industry's leading sales agency, Preferred Equine's new online sales portal, Preferred Equine Online, offers the best online service available. Developed by our experienced sales team, the powerful new platform with cutting-edge technology makes buying and selling easy from the comfort of your home or office over any device. Our experienced sales team offers full customer service for buyers and sellers as it relates to the collection, distribution, and transfer of the horses offered. Sellers can enter a horse as easily as 1, 2, 3 with a searchable database while allowing comments, photos, and other documents. Buyers can view live pedigrees, past performances, and race videos. To view the sales schedule, create your account, or learn more, visit www.preferredequineonline.com or call our sales team at 914-773-7777.
And welcome back, everybody, to Cosa-Tv. And there it is, your two drivers advancing to the National Driving Championship. Tyler Borth and James McDonald. Tyler finishing first in the standings. James finishing second. Probably had to sweat it a bit. I think he did finish last in that final race. He was in a photo for 7th, but didn't matter. It was going to be enough. He got through. No one could catch him. So Tyler Borth and James McDonald will head off to Trois Rivières this coming July. For James, another crack at maybe getting to the World Driving Championship. For Tyler Borth, this certainly has to be one of those big moments in his young career.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be anybody more pumped in London tonight than Tyler Borth. He'll be heading to the national stage, and obviously there's a big support system behind him, and obviously James returning to that stage again, obviously winning the World Championships before. He'll be looking to get back on the board again, but two of the best Ontario has to offer, and obviously Doug McNair sitting at home enjoying the action will be joining them as well at nationals. So quite the trio that's going out there, and I think they'll be very well represented.
Daryl Kaplan, Stanford Canada, Mark Horner, Bill O'Donnell, our own Greg Blanchard out there for the presentation here. to Tyler Borth and James McDonald. They were 1-2 in the driver standings for the country last year. They came into this week 1-2. James leading the country, entering this week with 123 wins. Tyler was tied for second with Travis Cullen at 112. And when you look at their earnings, James first in the country in earnings, Tyler Borth second in the country, or third in the country in earnings. So these two guys have been red hot all year long, and it does continue here tonight, and able to carry that through pretty much from start to finish to get the job done. So welcome back to the studio, as it's Mark McKelvey and Tony Elliott with you. We're just getting set for John Rallis to catch up with the winning drivers, and we're not going to wait any longer. Let's go trackside.
I'll start with you last. Leave the leader last, no?
All right, here alongside the winners of the Regional Driving Championship here. First, Tyler Borth, and second, James McDonald. James, I'm going to start with you first. James, just talk about the night as a whole and the experience.
It's always a lot of fun coming and competing in these competitions. Everyone drives so hard, and it's always great to come out and be one of the ones to advance. It's a lot of luck and a lot of the horses showing up to play for you that night. I've won these. I've finished last in these. So just to move on, I'm really happy and really happy for Tyler. He did a great job.
You're typically a guy who loves to have a short memory when you're driving in any race in particular. Favero Sealster, you said when you came back they just put that one in a bad spot. Were you keen on maybe just kind of starting with a blank slate, going forward with the rest of the competition?
Yeah, absolutely. That's half the battle in these competitions, because you're going to make mistakes, and obviously that was a pretty bad mistake, but I got away with it and got a second out of it. But turn the page, like you said, and just try and bang away little by little. Every point counts, and it came right down to the wire. I was very fortunate to get through.
I know he's not here tonight, but how exciting is it that you also get to compete with Dougie as well as Tyler in Quebec?
Well, it's not exciting at all, because he's a terrific driver, and he's just one more I got to beat.
Best of luck, James.
Thank you very much.
All right, here with Tyler Borth. And Tyler, first and foremost, congratulations, and kind of reflect on just the year it's been as a whole before we get into tonight.
Yeah, just something like this, I've gone so far in my career, very fast lately, and, it just seems to keep going up and up for me, and it's surprising, I never thought that it would go as fast as it has, being at Mohawk and getting preferred drives like Amigo Volo, and then coming here and winning this. It's just been it's very fortunate for me, so I can't complain.
Now, kind of talk about your emotions here. You got off to a quick start. Was it kind of hard for you to not maybe sit back and get a little bit too complacent?
Yeah, even going into the last race, I didn't really know where the stands were at. A couple people told me that I had it all wrapped up, but I thought I had a good shot. I thought the race would set up the way it set up, and I figured if I got away in the tool that I would finish second, and then that would wrap it up.
You got the job done here in your first RDC. What would it mean for you to win the NDC?
Yeah, that's a huge level. It's a really big step. To go to New Zealand and represent your country, that's a pretty big deal to me, so I'll do my best, and I'll be looking forward to it if it does happen.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Thanks, John.
All right, there's James McDonald, Tyler Borth finishing 1-2 here in the RDC at Western Fair for the Ontario Regional Driving Championship.
All right, thank you very much, John, and welcome back, everybody, inside our studio here at the Raceway. Mark McKelvey and Tony Elliott with you. Time to wrap things up and put a bow on what's been a fun evening of racing. And Tony, we'll get your final thoughts. We've been talking about it. Those are the top two drivers when it comes statistically to wins over the last year here in Canada. They come through. The only driver not here who would be right up there with them, especially when it comes to the earnings, is Doug McNair, because he's already moving on. Ontario is sending forward quite the trio to Quebec this July.
Yeah, I don't think you can find a better trio. Obviously, they were competing for that right to say that. So I think the three that are going are certainly going to be excited, and I think it'll be a fun trip out to Quebec. And certainly we'll find out who gets to go to Worlds, which will be even more competition. Obviously, Doug McNair was over in Germany this past year and competing in that. Obviously, was finished well in that, and our drivers typically stand out amongst the world stage, and they continue to prove that over and over again.
Well, job well done to all the drivers here tonight. Close calls for Louis Waugh, Brett McDonald, and Bob McClure. They were right there in the hunt right till the very end, but it is Tyler Borth, who is the winner of the Ontario Regional Driving Championship. Runner-up is James McDonald. They're heading off to the NDC this July. And we're going to head off right about now. We thank you so much for tuning in to our coverage here this evening on Cosa-Tv. We kicked off yet another year of coverage of the great events happening across our province. Hopefully you can join us for the ride. We'll be coming back at you in about a month's time right here from the Raceway for the Cam Luck Classic. On behalf of Tony Elliott, Greg Blanchard, and the entire crew behind the scenes, have a great evening. There's Tyler Borth. He wins the Ontario Regional Driving Championship.
By now, you know the name Cosa-Tv, an industry leader producing unique, high-quality digital content promoting harness racing in Ontario. Features, virtual programming, live events, and more. Cosa-Tv has it covered. Follow our social media channels and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page to view the latest content. And if you're looking to bet your favorite Ontario track, check out HPIBet.com. Cosa-Tv, taking Ontario racing global.